Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Welcome in. It is a Tuesday edition. Only 2 shows left here in 2025. That is all. New Year's Eve tomorrow. And then 2026 is upon us. I will tell you, as an old person who turns 50 in 2026, did not think that I'd be sitting here doing a radio show in 2026, if I was honest. When I started this, I was like, man, if I could, do a few years, that'd be great. I mean, my goal was always to host like a nationally syndicated show. And then after I got to doing what I'm doing now, where I'm at now, I quickly decided I wanted nothing to do with the national route whatsoever. And I didn't want to leave Milwaukee. And now doing the statewide thing in Wausau, 93.9 the game, and 710 the game in Duluth and Superior, and Green Bay and Appleton on WNFL, the Flamethrower, 99.7 FM, and then in Milwaukee on the Fan. It's obviously I changed my goals along the way, but still, to having been here doing this for like 20 years is pretty crazy.
Well, as a young person, I thought 50 sounds way too young. I was thinking like 150.
Man, I remember, we'll get to sports in the show eventually, but I remember when my dad turned 40 and they had an over-the-hill party for him, and out of all of his friends over, had the black balloons and the black napkins and all this stuff. When he turned 40, I'm thinking to myself, my God, and I am 50 right now, or going to be 50 in 2026. Like, that is...
You still got your hair, at least.
Crazy.
That's something.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be completely gray probably by the time I get to my 50th birthday, but that's all right. So 2026 will be upon us, and hopefully 2026 will be good for all. And I know some are probably have had a great 25. Others are probably like, just get this year over with. I don't want to remember anything about 2025. So either way, we'll have a new year upon us, and a new Brewer season coming. That will be fun. We'll see what a new Brewer season holds. The Badgers football team will get another crack and not sucking next year. We'll get into some Badgers coming up at 3:00. A startling story out of Iowa State that led me to having this conversation about the Badgers. So we'll get into that at 3:00. We have not really talked about the Bucks at all outside of just in passing as of recently. We've been pretty focused on the Packers. So we will touch on the Milwaukee Bucks for a segment coming up in the next segment. But we're going to start off with the Green Bay Packers one more time. And the reason we're starting off with the Green Bay Packers again is obviously you are one game away from the playoffs starting, and then obviously the season is over. And then at that point, then it's watching everybody else play out their run in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, waiting for the draft combine, waiting for NFL free agency to start, which the Packers very well may not be very much involved in. And then, going from there through the draft, and then all of a sudden May comes and you're in training, or you're in OTAs and stuff, and then you're back into the season again. And I promise you, it's going to go as quickly as I just said. Before you know it, Charlie and I will be sitting here going, man, training camp is next week. What the heck? Where did the summer go? Where did everything in 26 go, right? It's going to go that quick. Time does not stop.
It's not as fast as baseball season, if I'm being honest. Already hearing like pitchers and catchers reporting to that.
Baseball season is so long, man. Like, the NBA is too long. Baseball is too long. Hockey's too long. And the NFL is one game a week, but that is, in my opinion, too long. Like, if these pro sports were more like 3 months, 4 months, that to me, and then, they just went from one to the other, to the other, to the other, all the way through, I think they would all benefit. The problem is they'll never do that because they're going to cost everybody and their mama money if they had shorter seasons.
Don't make money in the offseason.
No, you do not. That is a very good point. Speaking of the offseason, the Packers are going to have a lot of work to do on their defense coming up this offseason, and that is where we start because this here was a problem.
Baltimore just trying to stay alive for playoff consideration. Pitch it, Henry's going to get his third. Touchdown, Baltimore. It's a first-half hat trick for the King.
Horrible. absolutely horrible. Highlight courtesy of Peacock and NBC. Absolutely horrible. Henry throws up over 200 yards rushing, most since Mostert did it for the Niners in the playoffs a couple of years ago, or been more than that, a few years ago for the San Francisco 49ers. And we've been all over this defense at this point. What area of this Packers defense right now concerns you the most as we sit here today, knowing you have the Vikings and then a playoff game against either the Bears or the Eagles? If I said to you, what are you most concerned about right now on this defense? Is it the line? Is it the corners? Is it lack of turnovers? Is it lack of pass rush? Like, what is it? Listen, I know everything I said could be your number one concern. Like, every single thing I said could very well be your number one concern going into this. I'm just curious to where everybody is, and are we all have the same number one concern? Because mine might be different than yours. Charlie's might be different than mine and different than yours, but they're all valid concerns. So I'm not going to poo-poo anybody that doesn't agree with that. My number one concern is different than yours. I'm just curious to see where Packer fans are looking at right now. Like, hey, this doesn't change. It's going to be curtains time for this Packers team in the postseason. Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Earlier today, and they were talking about it on the Mason Crosby show with Mitch Thunder Nellis and Tommy Wirtz, had Dusty Evely on, one of my favorites, film analyst, Pack-A-Day, and Acme Packing Company. They were talking about Trayvon Diggs and whether or not a guy that was a corner who used to be a turnover machine cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, who's went through a couple of injuries and so forth and has not been the same. He was released by the Dallas Cowboys, same day that apparently his brother is in a whole bunch of trouble, and Stephon Diggs. Whether or not that makes sense for the Packers to go after and acquire Trayvon Diggs. It's not that hard. This isn't rocket science. This is where we're at. Is he breathing? Can he run? Yeah? Let's sign him. I mean, seriously, that's where we're at. They made a great point on Crosby's show. Like, you literally are this close if you're watching on X or YouTube at WI Sports Radio. You are this close to Bo Melton having to start a cornerback. Forget the wide receiver position. He's going to have to come back and play corner, possibly in a playoff game, right? That's how close you are to having this happen because of the injuries and bad play. That's where we're at. So Trayvon Diggs, if they said, we're going to go get him, I would be like, hey, I'm all for it. You know, he may get burned from time to time, but you want to know what he does? He catches it if it's near him. He doesn't drop it. He's going to get it. If Caleb Williams throws him a ball or Jalen Hurts throws him a ball and he's got a chance to catch it more times than not, he's going to hold on to it. And they need turnovers on this defense right now, Charlie.
So far this season, Trayvon Diggs has 0 interceptions, passer rating allowed of 158.3, and 17.9 yards per reception allowed. Zero PBUs, 16 reception allowed in 8 games on the season.
Yeah, so he hasn't played a full season.
He's played half a season, and that is not a pretty half a season.
But again, remember how they're going to play him, right? There's not going to be a lot of man. He's going to sit back and watch eyes and keep everything in front of him and break on the ball. That's what you're going to ask him to do. You're not going to ask him to play man-on-man coverage. At least I don't think so. I hope not. I don't think you're going to ask him to play man-on-man coverage, versus whoever the receiver is. Say Justin Jefferson. That's the first person that comes to mind since you have him this week. Say Justin Jefferson. You're not going to ask him to do that. You're going to use your safety over the top, have him play a zone, drop back, and break on the ball, make a tackle, or break in front of the receiver and make an interception. If somebody gets overthrown, the ball's to you, don't drop it. Like so many of our guys do. That's what you're going to ask him to do. Now, if you're going to say, hey, man, I want to blitz more because we can't get home, so we're going to start blitzing more, and you're going to go play on an island, then this is probably not a good idea. Then I agree. No, probably shouldn't go get Trayvon Diggs. But if it's going to be, we're going to play a bunch of zone, rush 4, cross our fingers that somebody gets home at some point, and you're going to go out there and play that way, I think he'd be okay in that situation.
Yeah, but you also you can't do that. You have to start blitzing more if you want to start winning games.
They're not going to.
You've lost 3 straight games with that more conservative mentality.
But
and it's not working.
They blitzed quite a bit this last game.
Yeah, but it was, I guess, It was against a run-heavy offense, a team where you're going to go against the Bears, who have been throwing more as of recently. I feel like this is a situation where you can catch yourselves off guard. I don't know if this is a guy that really helps you in that facet.
I'm telling you right now, whether it's Chicago or whether it's Philly, does not matter. They're both going to run. And the question is, what area of the defense concerns you the most today? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250. Run defense. That's it for me. Like I said, everybody can have their own opinion right now. They bring back Jonathan Ford yesterday. He stinks. But he's a big body that they can shove out there, and hopefully he can grab somebody running by him once in a while and see what happens. Is Jonathan Ford going to change the game of football? No. Is Jonathan Ford going to be some huge impact player? Probably not. But he just has to take up a body or two and grab a player once in a while. That's really all you're asking him to do. Be a warm body out there and try not to get hurt. Because seriously, that's what they're trying to find right now, are warm bodies that can go out there and not embarrass themselves when they're on the football field. And they think, obviously, because he's a former draft pick, that Ford can do that at the defensive line position. If you go get Trayvon Diggs, you want to put him in a position, if you're Jeff Hafley, to not embarrass himself, but put him in a position to make some turnovers and hopefully help this defense. Because that's the other part of it, is if you can't get stops, turnovers become a necessity for this Packers football team at that point. And right now, that has not been something they've been very good at getting, Charlie.
Yeah, but Trevon Diggs.
It's everything you say have to go with, yeah, but.
Because there's usually has to be a but. There usually has to be a but there at some point, man.
Charlie, yeah, but Houston.
Trevon Diggs, when he won that Defensive Player of the Year and was forcing those turnovers, I think that was really a result of the Dallas Cowboys system as well, because you saw the same kind of thing happen with Deron Bland a year later in that same system. And Trevon Diggs, since that Defensive Player of the Year, hasn't been the same kind of quarterback. I think this is a little rose-colored glasses trying to put a Band-Aid on a giant wound right now for the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if it's worthwhile going to get that when there are probably better options in free agency that may not be at that position, but I mean, Stephon Gilmore sitting in that position. He's a guy that you know can be an island type of cornerback if that's somebody that you need, if you do need to blitz more, because that's what you're seeing here. You go defensive line, and Christian Wilkins is a guy that's also still sitting in free agency. Both those guys, have their injury concerns. That's part of the reason they're not on teams right now. But if you're just looking for somebody to help you out in 15 to 25 snaps over the course of 5 games, if you can make it all the way to the Super Bowl, those are better options than a guy that you've seen more recently prove that he can't do it when those guys have done it recently.
I got a bunch of messages coming in here on the Nicolay Law Talking text line. Phone lines work too. You can always call as well. That's always my preference, but I will gladly read your text messages too. It's just easier to go back and forth versus on the text. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250. Also going to be a part of our Dugout YouTube chat as well as on X at WI Sports Radio. Let's see here. Let's go to the 262. We can trust that Bo Melton won't have a perfect passer rating against him like Diggs, ? Thanks to Charlie. I'd rather have Bo Melton than Ziggy.
Sorry to crush your dreams, Ziggy. I'm just reading the stats.
I don't want Bo Melton at cornerback. And I sat here and defended them trying him at cornerback, and Charlie laughed and said they're not serious.
He's not playing a single snap there. He's played way more on offense.
He's not going to play corner. Well, they had him at corner throughout training camp for a reason, and he very well could end up playing corner in a playoff game against the Bears. You know what would be really funny from my perspective? If Bo Melton gets a game-winning interceptions against Caleb Williams to end that thing. Charlie, first of all, will be crushed because the Bears lost. But second off, and what I will be more happy about that, it's Bo Melton at quarter that would end it. Like, you couldn't paint a better script for this show for me versus Charlie on Bo Melton. That would be amazing.
Then I hope it's Bo Melton at wide receiver, gets picked off by Jalen Johnson in the end zone to close the game. That'd be pretty awesome, right on the other side.
Sure, could. Yeah, it could, right? He steps right in front of him and picks it to end the game. Packers have a chance to win. Boom, there's the pick. Do you know what will happen if that happens?
What's that?
People will kill Jordan Love. If you were throwing a Bo Melton to win this game.
Bo Melton in that situation, that can't be. That's not on Jordan Love, man.
People get mad every time he throws a Bo Melton, and it's not Matthew Golden. If we're being honest, don't you? Think about it. When you're sitting at home and you're watching a Packer game, right? and Bo Melton makes a catch. Whatever, 30 yards, because it's very rarely like 3 yards. So a bigger type throw to Bo Melton. How many of you are going, now why can't that be Matthew Golden? Why can't Matthew Golden get balls like that Bo Melton is getting? Considering Matthew Golden was drafted in the first round, why can't Matthew Golden get those balls that Bo Melton gets? I bet you at least half or more of the people listening right now to Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, is saying the same thing. Oh, yes, Sparky, I totally do that. I'm always like, why can't Matthew Golden get those balls that Bo Melton gets? Happens all the time. Back to the talk and text line, 920. Number one concern for the Packers defense is the inability to stop the run. We agree. It starts there. Need to be able to fill in the defensive line position, and then it comes down to alignment, assignment, and execution. That's Adam in Pulaski, Wisconsin. So the whole alignment, assignment, and execution thing, yes, on alignment. Mm-hmm. Yes, on assignment. Mm-hmm. The execution part, can we talk about that for a couple of seconds?
Sure.
Okay. I could take Charlie and line Charlie up at a defensive line position or an offensive line position like you play tackle in college. I can line him up either position and tell him what he has to do, right? Okay, so I need you to get your hands in this position. I need you to go this way. I need you to split these two defenders of your defensive lineman, whatever. But if the player or players across from him are simply better or more powerful or stronger, quicker, whatever, they're just better, overall better football players than the player you're asking to do that, that guy can execute as perfectly as he possibly can, and it may not matter at all at the end of the day. And that is what I think is what is going on here and what I am gravely concerned about going forward, right? That if you continuously get pushed backwards by the offensive line, your linebackers got no chance. Got no chance. Because now you've got offensive linemen getting into the second level and everybody else. You're in trouble if you're a linebacker, if your defensive line ends up in your lap every time they snap the ball. Regardless of if they're lined up correctly, could be, right? Absolutely. That very well could be. They know their assignment. They're doing that correctly, but physically they're just getting beat because they're not good enough. There's nothing you can do about that as a coach. Your job is to give them the assignment, put them in the right position, and then hope they do their job. And sometimes they're just not better than the other guy.
Well, and the past three opponents that you've played against, the Denver Broncos and the Chicago Bears, have two of the best overall offensive lines in the NFL so far this season. And then Baltimore, the person they ran behind with Derrick Henry 8,000 times in this game is Tyler Linderbaum, probably the best center in the game right now. I mean, these guys they're playing against are some of the best units, and it's impossible to play up to that standard when you're putting guys like Jordan Riley out on the field who just came off the street 2 weeks ago.
Yep. And Jordan Riley now hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now you got to trust somebody else, like Nazir Stackhouse, your undrafted free agent.
So that's the other thing. I have a text on Stackhouse too. But that's the other thing. If you're Jonathan Ford, you're like, do I really want to go get hurt? Do I really want to sign with this team? Because odds are I could jack up my knee or something and be out all of next year. Everybody on this team continues to get hurt.
Yeah, but if you're a guy,
it really feels like there's a cloud over this team right now.
But if you're a guy not making really any money right now, you might as well go try and be a hero for the Packers too, and make the game-winning tackle if they have to put you in a situation.
No. I totally agree with you on that. I'm just pointing out that feels like there's a cloud over this team. It just does. Like we talked about yesterday, there feels like there's pixie dust all over the Bears right now. Like anytime something could go right or a break that could happen, it feels like it's going their way. Right now, if I was a Bears fan on social media and this was the Packers, you guys are so lucky. None of this is real. Oh, you're all fake. You're not as good as you say. I'm not saying that because every team that's going to make a run to get to a Super Bowl needs some pixie dust. Everybody's got to have it. Packers don't have any right now. None. In fact, they got a dark cloud with thunder and lightning going on over them as they're walking down the street. That's what they've got going on right now, which is the exact opposite of what you need to go to a Super Bowl.
Q in the dugout chat says the cloud is Matt LaFleur.
Just stop. Just absolutely. Adam and Franklin, you are next on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line. What area of the defense concerns you the most today, Adam?
How's it going, Sparky?
Good.
I got to say the secondary. And here's why. Because granted, our pass rush was getting to them before we had all these injuries on the D-line, right? but they covered for our secondary, who, for whatever reason, we can't play man coverage because they're playing 20 yards down the field.
Right.
Because they're afraid of getting beat. So we give up all these routes underneath. So no matter what happens, whether we have a pass rush or not, our secondary is getting cooked. Keyshawn Nixon is at best a nickelback. Best. Why we go into camp with him as a number 1 or 2 in the season is just beyond me. But for me, it's the secondary. When I'm seeing these guys play 20 yards downfield and everything underneath is there, well, that's for me the biggest concern.
This is the thing, right? So who is that on? I mean, we talked about this yesterday as far as they really haven't gone aggressively at corners early in the draft in quite some time. So you can only go with what you have if you're Jeff Hafley.
Right. No, that's a Gutey thing all the way.
Yes.
I mean, because when you traded away, when you made a trade for Parsons, you should have made sure that your D-line was up to snuff with big bodies in there. Because now you have Gary, who played better when Parsons was in, but you really didn't have any beef because Devontae Wyatt you can't really rely on. But your secondary was in shambles immediately. Like, I mean, the minute you traded Jair Alexander, whether he's available 5 or 6 games of the season or the entire season, him at 5 or 6 games is better than what we've had for the entire season.
That's true. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah, thanks for the call, Adam. I appreciate it. See, and that's the part about this that we're going to talk about once we get into the offseason and so forth, as far as what do you really want to address with this draft? Because that's going to be your main source here. Unless you cut a bunch of guys and free a bunch of cap room, where do you go? And all the different concerns I laid out to start this, as far as which one is your biggest, Gutey, Ron Gutekunst, general manager of this team, is going to have to figure out, where do I go in the draft? What is the bigger need? What can I get away with not necessarily drafting earlier, getting that player later? And what do I have to address early and often in, say, the 2nd and the 3rd round of this draft? Because you don't have a 1 that went away in the Micah Parsons deal. And cornerback is probably going to have to be in the conversation here. But what kind of corner are you going to go try and find? Right? Because you have not done anything really with Jeff Hafley as far as corners go. Maybe Jeff Hafley goes, I'd much rather play press man, but I have a bunch of corners that can't do that. So if we're going to go draft corners now, finally, can we draft corners that I would like, that I think would play well in my system, and let him go draft guys that he wants to play with? I highly doubt, based on his resume prior to getting here, that this is not something that he necessarily really wanted to do. He is doing it because he doesn't have guys that he wants to play with. But I'm sure he'd take a bunch of Richard Shermans at this point versus what he's playing with.
Well, I'm sure Richard Sherman was one of the greatest cornerbacks of that generation. But you've seen what he's been able to do with a Javon Bullard so far this season, the step that he's taken. It hasn't been a monumental step, but you've seen his growth in that nickelback position when he was kind of lost at where he should be playing last season. He was going back and forth and was messing him up. Now he's put him in this spot where he has a role, and it's worked really well. You saw that with Quay Walker last season too, and going into this year, that these guys, when they get these identified roles within Jeff Hafley's defense, they get really confident. So I think you just need players that are willing to be moldable and willing to come in and just play within the system that Jeff Hafley has set up here, and they'll find success. So I don't know if it's really a specific type, but just a mindset that you want to be able to work within this defense.
414, what happened to Stackhouse? Bringing that up to light again. Nothing's happened to Stackhouse. He's been chilling over there, inactive. I think what was he dealing with, like a back or something like that? Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's just sitting over there. I would assume Stackhouse plays this week if they're not going to play starters, which they have not said one way or the other because they really haven't talked. And they're not talking today either. We'll find out more as we go here. But regardless, if he's healthy, he has to play. And I don't care if he's a Simon Sure or not a Simon Sure, or aligned correctly or not aligned correctly. He is a wide body that can potentially take up 2 guys. He has to be out there, Charlie.
And I think he will be. I think this is a guy that, again, you need to start getting going here. And this is going to be a game where if you need him to play important snaps in the postseason, he has to get warmed up here. I think guys like Matthew Golden have to probably play a lot of snaps in this game too, because that's a guy that if you're going to need him in the postseason, which you might with the injuries that you face at the wide receiver position, he has to get going now. You need to see a lot of these players start, and if they're not going to be out there, you can't trust them in the postseason.
There he is, Charlie using over there. Steve Sparky, 5 for here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And coming up next, we're going to switch gears. We are going to take ourselves to the NBA and to the Milwaukee Bucks. I know a lot of you around the state probably aren't the biggest of Bucks fans. We'd rather hear Packers all the time. I get it. But I need to talk about the Bucks just a little bit here because I'm a huge Bucks fan, and I've been avoiding it. Why have I been avoiding it? Because obviously Packers are playing right now, and they're a playoff team. The Bucks aren't even a play-in team at this point, number one. Number two, with all the drama around Giannis, I've stayed clear of that. I didn't want to get into that and be in a bad mood every day, so I've tried to stay out, keep that out of this show. Other shows can talk about it. I just prefer not to. But now that Giannis is back, we got a couple games under his belts. Let's talk about what this team looks like now with Giannis back. That's straight ahead here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
With what we're 11th in the East.
Say again.
Are we 11th in the East or 12? 11. Yeah, I'm just got to keep finding an identity, and if that is to get a little bit of scrappy at the end, so be it.
There is Giannis after that Bulls fiasco the other night. And he talks about finding an identity. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Sparky here. Charlie using the other side of the glass. Last night, Bucks win 123-113. And this Bucks team playing better the last couple of games. Starting to look more like what we thought it was going to look like. Now, again, I understand. Not necessarily good basketball teams the first two games back for Giannis, who they've played. He is on a minutes restriction, remember, as well. So it's not like he's going out there playing 30-some minutes. So they're not getting full Giannis like they're going to as this thing kind of goes forward here. The question is, how much do you think the games without Giannis, those 8 or 9 games, really helped this Bucks roster improve? Yeah, they lost. But did it help them improve for when Giannis got back? In a weird way, is there that silver lining of, if he doesn't go down, A, B, or C, we may not know, or we wouldn't have learned this, and so forth. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Last night, Giannis, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 23 points, 6 rebounds for Miles Turner, 15 points, 5 boards, and 11 assists for KPJ. Rollins was brutal, 3 of 10 from the field. He had 13 points, 3 boards, 4 assists for him, 25 off the bench for Bobby Portis with 2 rebounds. So those are the numbers. Those are the guys that all ended up in double digits in that game for the Bucks. I personally think there was some stuff that was learned. I do. Let's talk about a couple of the things that we learned. We learned that from a talent standpoint, they're not very talented, right? That's what we learned. We learned they're not the most talented team in the NBA. Now, did we know that going in? I think so. Did some people not want to talk about it or realize it because they were blinded by what this team looked like with Giannis, so they thought everybody was so much better than they were? Probably. There was probably some of that. Are there still some of you out there that think Ryan Rollins is a superstar or going to be something great or whatever? Yeah, there's some of you out there that still think Ryan Rollins is going to be that guy. Is he? Probably not. Is he probably going to be a nice role player in the league? Right? Yeah, probably going to be a nice role player in the league. Right? That's, I don't know, 3rd, 4th option on okay team, I guess. Probably down the line on a really, really good basketball team in most situations. Kyle Kuzma. I mean, I wouldn't say he took a step necessarily from where he was prior to Giannis going down. He kind of has been Kyle Kuzma the whole way. The guy that absolutely completely exploded and went away is Miles Turner. That guy was exposed horribly. Looking at him play during that stretch, he's the most overpaid player in the NBA possibly right now, based on how that stretch just went. That was horrendous. Now, Giannis comes back, and all is right in the world. And now he looks like what everybody wanted him to look like when Giannis is on the floor. So, really, at the end of the day, does it matter that he sucked when Giannis wasn't there? Probably not. Probably not as much as everybody made it out to be, because if Giannis isn't there, this team's going to be in disarray and horrible for years. So regardless if Miles Turner's on the roster or not, they're going to stink. Everybody's talking about, we're going to go find a player to come in here and help this Milwaukee Bucks team try and compete and win a championship. Okay, let me start. There's nobody you're going to bring in here with what you have assets-wise that's going to give this team a championship. I just don't think so, because you're going to give up so much in order to go get a player that you are going to completely deplete what you already have on this roster. When the season started, I said I thought this team could be sitting there in the finals at the end and representing the East. That's what I said. And I said, if that's going to happen, they've got to shoot as well as they shot last year. And considering they're going to shoot it way more than they did last year, that has to stay in that same area. They still have to be a top 2, top 3 3-point shooting team, but they're going to shoot it way more. Then that next step of that is, and Kevin Porter Jr. or somebody is going to have to take the reins as that second scorer and show that they can be that Robin to that Batman of Giannis, because I knew Miles Turner wasn't going to be that guy. He's going to be more or less your third option at the end of the day. Bobby Portis is your guy off the bench. That's fine. Continue to roll with that. I've got no issue there. The one thing I did not account for, and the one thing I should have taken more seriously, was their ability to rebound the basketball. That is the biggest thing I did not account for. That was the issue with Giannis. That's been an issue even bigger without Giannis. That's something they have to address. And I think you can address that relatively cheaply at the deadline by going out and getting another big guy that can go out there and relieve Miles Turner as a true center to play next to Bobby Portis. You can get a backup big relatively cheap. You don't got to trade for Trae Young. You don't got to trade for Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. You're not going to do any of that stuff. Just go get something, go out there and give you 5 or 6 boards a night off the bench and play 20 minutes. That's all you need. They don't even have to score, for God's sakes. You've got guys that can score the ball. Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr., Kuzma. You've got guys that'll be out there when Giannis is on the bench that can still score for 5 minutes while Giannis isn't out there, 4 minutes while Giannis isn't out there. If you're going to go win a championship, Giannis is going to probably play 38 minutes a night, 37 minutes a night in the playoffs. He's going to play a ton because he has to be out there. So I don't think, from the perspective of how great this team can be, necessarily has changed, right? Your seeding may not be as good at the end of the year because of the little bump in the road that you had while Giannis was out. No. Do I still think they're a top 6 seed? Yes, I still think they get to be a top 6 seed. I still don't think that they're going to miss the playoffs or anything like that. No chance. They're going to play well. Now, caveat to everything. He goes down again, which is very possible with this dude. If he goes down again, then they're probably screwed. If he goes down again and misses 2, 3, 4 weeks, something crazy like that, then they're done. Then it's officially over, and then who knows how everything else plays out after that. But providing he stays healthy and they can stay relatively healthy the rest of the year as a team, still think they're top 6 team, still think they can do some damage when they get to the postseason, because I think that the role players that Horst put together around them will be good enough in the postseason, knocking down jumpers and knocking down open threes and playing off of Giannis and Miles Turner being able to do what he was brought in to do. And then you just need KPJ to step up and be that guy like he thinks he is. Now he has to go prove that he can be who he thinks he is, Charlie.
Exactly. And I think that when looking at the whole Miles Turner situation, no, I don't think people expected him or really thought he would implode the way he did in those 9 games. It was worse than what we expected. Jericho Sims outplayed him in multiple of those games.
I think Jericho Sims was even on the floor. Is amazing.
Should never have been a thing going forward here. But Miles Turner was brought in not to be another superstar next to Giannis. I think a lot of people expected that with the type of money that he was brought in on, waiving Damian Lillard in order to bring him in.
That's fair to expect, though, with that money.
It is. But at the same time, when you watch Miles Turner and you understand what they were trying to do around Giannis, you realize he was brought in to be paired up and put alongside 4 other guys that were paired up with Giannis, right, that were supposed to fit with Giannis. And without Giannis on the court, you kind of have to expect that to fall apart a little bit. It's not going to be perfect because all these guys were meant to play alongside him. You were done with the second superstar type of idea. The other thing is the rebounding situation that the Bucks are in right now isn't a new problem. I've been saying this. People have been saying this since last season, beginning of last season, that this was going to be an issue moving forward here. And they didn't fix it this offseason. They didn't fix it last trade deadline. And right now it doesn't really feel like they're looking at trying to fix that. They're just hoping that Giannis can come back on the court. But it is going to start being an issue more and more. And it doesn't even have to be a big guy that can get rebounds, because you go and get that dude's going to be unplayable with Giannis on the offensive side of the floor. It's just going to be impossible to have that much clogging the lane when you put that player on the court. It has to be a player like a Chris Middleton, like a Drew Holiday, who are just going to be aggressive rebounders, who are going to go out there and try to get boards, even though they're not the biggest guys. You just don't see that right now. You see a lot of guys just sitting on the perimeter waiting for the ball to bounce to them. It's frustrating. This team has to get better at the little things and the effort, and with Giannis on the court, I think that's what he's trying to impose right now.
That's a great point. No question. You know what the funny thing is? Packers needed big guys. Didn't get him. Bucks needed a big guy. Didn't get him either. Again, obvious things. Here,
Brewers going to need a big guy with power.
Brewers needed a power, got bad at third. Didn't get that either, right? Suarez, by the way, still out there. Let's go to Trell, north side of Milwaukee. You're next on the Nicolay Law talk and text line. How much do you think the games without Giannis really helped this Bucks roster improve, Trell?
I think that it set them on a potential to be able to build without Giannis. This relationship is over with, man. It's just starting to look so icky to me because this is like the end of a relationship where one of the parties wants to hold on desperately and try to do whatever and anything they can to try to salvage or bring some reinvigorate the relationship again. Too much water under the bridge, man. We're not winning with them, and we're not going to win without them right now. So I don't know what the fuss is. Everybody, we can't let them go because they're going to go. We're not getting out the first round with this team.
Right.
At their peak, they won't get out the first round with this team right here. So Giannis definitely, he's not going to say it. His body language has been speaking this year. He really doesn't want to be here, but since he's here, he's going to be the a trusted all type of person that he's told everybody and showed everybody that he would be. So to me, you got a chance to get a top pick and a loaded draft next year. Trade Giannis, trade Miles Turner, trade Bobby Portis, keep our young guards and see what that turns out. Let them get a lot of minutes.
Remember, you're not going to get to keep that pick because it's a pick swap. So that pick's going to go away even if you get it.
No. The Bucks get to keep their pick this year coming up. The pick swap is, and if there is a pick swap, it'll be with New Orleans.
Correct. It's with the Pelicans. Correct. Yeah.
Right. That's their disaster too. So either way it goes, the Bucks are going to have a very, very good chance of getting a good pick.
Now I'm going to ask
young players.
I'm going to ask you something. So you said they're going to get beat in the first round no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just talk about this for a second. So let's say they end up as, say, the 6th seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, that 3 seed could be Toronto. Toronto's a half game out of 3. You're telling me with everybody playing, they can't beat Toronto? Of course they can. They can beat Toronto in a series. Absolutely. It could be Orlando. They can beat Orlando in a series. I mean,
it looks like it on paper. Sparky, we said a couple years ago they can beat Indiana. We said a few years ago they could beat Indiana.
Well, they got hurt.
Indiana. Come on.
They got hurt.
I know that sounds good, Sparky, but we lost to them 2 years in a row.
And you were hurt both years. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yes, if Giannis is hurt, you're not beating anybody. I agree.
Yeah, but he wasn't hurt the second year, though, and we still lost to him.
That's correct. He was not hurt the second year. That year you had Lillard out and didn't have him.
I just think this is just failed. What the Bucks are going to do is put themselves in a worse situation than they already are in. Because what's going to happen if the Bucks don't make a decision and do what they need to do this summer, Giannis is going to finally say something. Trust me, and it's going to finally happen. And then they're probably going to be played to a middle of the road team where you don't get a good pick. You get a middle and teenager pick now. And now what are you rebuilding with? Whatever picks you get from a team that Giannis is going to be on, they're probably going to win some games.
No, I mean, if you trade Giannis at some point, there has to be a third team involved that gives you an opportunity to get better picks. There just does. It can't be a straight up one team for one team thing. There's got to be a way for them to get better picks. They cannot make a deal to where Giannis goes to the team and then you only get that team's picks. That would be a disaster. Thanks for the call. No, I don't think so. And again, I'm not going down the road of talking about this Giannis situation. I'm not. I just get super angry and no. 414, Andre Jackson Jr. can grab rebounds. Yeah, he can.
Also can't do anything else.
Again, that's another guy that's not playing on most rosters in this league right now. He's just not playing. He's just not. He's a great hustle guy, but he doesn't give you. What else does he give you? Like, he's a nice passer, right? When they traded for him, it was smart IQ basketball player, knows how to make the correct pass, rebound, great running down in transition and doing that, trying to figure out the outside shot. That's who he was. But the knock in college was he can't shoot. And I remember when they drafted him, I was like, let me see if I got this right. You drafted a guy to put with Giannis that can't shoot. What are you doing? I remember it like it was yesterday. I did not understand
But that's why they got AJ Green. So they're just the exact opposite of each other.
Goodness gracious. Lewis, north side of Milwaukee. Hold on. We got to take a quick time out. I just looked at this clock. We're way behind. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, summed up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. Nicolay Law Talk and Text Line. Lewis, north side of Milwaukee, as we talk about the Bucks. What's going on, Lewis?
What's up, Spark? What's up, man? The callers who want to trade Giannis and come up with all these scenarios. Remember back in the heydays of fantasy football,
Yep.
When you go to the bar and everybody would trade their picks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then on Monday everybody is pissed.
Yep.
You know, that doesn't work in the NFL and the NBA. It isn't allowed. Once a trade is made, it's done. So Travell is like the guy who never had the pretty girlfriend, doesn't know what to do. I'm gonna tell you what I've learned when Giannis was out, and the reason why he wasn't traded is because whoever pulls that trigger, now their job is on the line. Now, whatever team it is, New York, LA, now they have to win.
Yep.
And if they don't, that GM is out of a job. And that's what we all don't think about. Whoever pulls the trigger, now they have to win. These GMs aren't taking that after they saw what happened in Dallas, after they saw – they're not doing that. So we can all just relax. Giannis, we're going to continue to give Giannis what he wants, as we should as an organization. And I think like you, Sparky, we get into the playoffs, we can do damage if everybody's healthy.
That's correct. That's the biggest thing because Giannis hardly ever is healthy in the playoffs. I got to roll, Lewis. Thanks for the call. It's a great point. He's right. If you're the GM in New York with the Knicks, you make that deal and it doesn't work, you're done. If you're the GM in Miami and you make that deal and it doesn't work, I guess Pat Riley can't fire himself, but otherwise that person is going to be done too. So yeah, there is absolutely added pressure, and John Horst is probably out of a job shortly after that too, because the odds of them winning quickly after that is probably zero.
He might quit himself.
He may just quit. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Coming up next, we're going to dive into the Badgers and what is going on at Iowa State and why it concerns me for the Badgers. Up next, Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. Live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Here we are, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen producing. Coming up, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with our guy, Tommy Wirtz. Gives you the best of what happened today on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Mike Spofford was on earlier today from Packers.com. He was on Inside Wisconsin Sports, which you can hear weekday mornings from 6 to 9. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, Doug Gottlieb, I believe. I haven't checked to see if he's on New Year's Eve. I would assume he is. But 8 o'clock every Wednesday morning, the Green Bay Phoenix head men's basketball coach will be on. They get ready, take on a big game against the Milwaukee Panthers coming up. I believe it's on Monday. So definitely want to tune in for that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And then 9 to noon with John Kuhn and Rami Makloff. Noon to 2, Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, presented to you by Verizon. And then, of course, this show every day from 2 until 5. So I was on Twitter last night, not having any plans to talk about the Wisconsin Badgers football program at all, because, again, it's just been depressing, and more depressing stuff. When it comes to players leaving, they lost their running backs coach now yesterday as well, going to Michigan State to follow the new coach at Michigan State, Pat Fitzgerald, who was at Northwestern. Speaking of Northwestern, did you see who Northwestern announced today as their new offensive coordinator?
I did see that.
Chip Kelly is going to be the new offensive coordinator at Northwestern. So from a failure with the Raiders, back into college he goes, where he's had some success. The UCLA job when he was head coach didn't really work out the way he wanted, I don't think. It's been a minute since he's had really sustained success. But in this situation at Northwestern, he doesn't necessarily have to worry about being the guy as the head coach, can just be the coordinator. I still worry about how that offense plays in the Big Ten because it didn't play well in the Big Ten at UCLA. So I don't know why Northwestern would go down that rabbit hole for him.
Well, I know why, because he's a big name that should bring in some or more big-time recruits than you were getting before.
Maybe.
Kind of tells me a school like Northwestern, who traditionally has been academics first, is also starting to lean a little more towards trying to bring in money and players to build that football program. It's a little weird.
Connections on the West Coast from being out there, right? So he's been out there for most of his life. So to be able to recruit the West Coast, and mom and dad can still see their kids play because they're in the same conference as Northwestern. So, yeah, your kid's not going to UCLA or USC or Washington, Oregon. Don't worry. You could still see them play when they play all those teams when we're at Northwestern. And your baby's going to come home to play at UCLA, at USC. So you could still see him 2 or 3 times a year by making a drive to wherever he may be on the West Coast.
Again, just another school not named Wisconsin taking those steps.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's crazy. So anyways, I'm scrolling through social media last night on Twitter, and I come across this from College Football Talk Daily. And it says, I just don't see how the current college football landscape is sustainable. Iowa State has been a solid program for years. Now, before I read the rest of this, remember, their head coach left, right? Mr. Campbell. He left. And where did he go, Charlie?
Where did he go? Now I'm forgetting off the top of my head.
Penn State.
Oh, that's right.
So he goes to Penn State and leaves Iowa State. Campbell has been there forever and built that program into what they were. So now he goes to Penn State, takes some of his guys, all of that stuff. And now what happens? An exodus at Iowa State. They now have 17 players remaining on the roster for next football season, with only one returning starter at Iowa State as we sit here today. 17 players only. That is literally building an entire team out of a transfer portal. The entire team has to be rebuilt at Iowa State. And when Deion Sanders came into Colorado and said, hey, y'all ain't my guys, I'm going to go find my guys. Y'all may want to pack your bags and figure out where you're going to go play because I'm going to go get my own crew. That's pretty much what he did. He kicked everybody out, went and got his own guys. This wasn't anybody getting kicked out. This was, we're all leaving voluntarily because the guy we came here for, that we know can compete, that we know can send us into the National Football League because he's got a track record, is gone. And now we're all skedaddling out of Iowa because we wouldn't have been here by choice anyhow. It hadn't been for him. So now they leave. The Badgers are losing people left and right as well, all going into the portal. Now, they have said that they plan on spending a lot more money in NIL money and so forth this year compared to what they did last year. There's been some rumblings of bottom third to top third. Believe that when I see it. But you know what? With as many players as they've lost, they're going to need every dollar of it to try to fix this roster and have enough guys to play with going forward, wherever those players come from. They may not even come from Power 5 schools. They may come from smaller schools that they bring in that they don't got to pay a bunch of NIL money to, because these guys wanted to play in a Power 5 school and they get to play in the Big Ten. I don't need any money. Just give me a scholarship. Let's go. I'll come play for you. So there's that. The other part about this, high school kids. Feel bad, man. You got kids that are in high school right now or about to be in high school. You got some middle school kid that's really, really good football player. And you know how parents are. My kid's going to play in the Big Ten. My kid's going to play for the Packers one day, right? You know how that gets, right? Parents all proud of their kids, and you should be proud of your kids. Don't tell anybody that you shouldn't be proud of your kids. But either way, so they're really, really good. Now that kid who would have had an opportunity to potentially go play at a Division I school now, as we talked about in basketball, now is going to be in a situation to where there's not going to be as many openings anymore in Division I football, maybe as there was before, because so many people want those kids to have experience, and they'll take the experienced kid over a freshman coming in to play. That also is an issue right now, like college basketball. It is in college football. Does the new landscape of college football give the Badgers more or less of a chance to win a championship? And I know, what kind of championship? Pick. You make it Big Ten if you want. You make it national championship. In my mind, it's all one and the same at this point. Because if you win the Big Ten and you beat Ohio State or Indiana, you're going to be right there, have a chance for national championship. So close enough, right? However you want to look at it. Does the new landscape of college football give the Badgers more or less of a chance to win a title than they had before? Nicolay Law Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials at WI Sports Radio, streaming live on X and YouTube. Also streaming at wisportsradio.com, where you can find all of our podcasts as well. Charlie, what say you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think right now, with the way college teams and schools are just flipping across conferences, they can transfer as easily as players can.
Yep.
And the way the college football playoff is set up, if the Badgers wanted to just hop over to the Sun Belt, win the Sun Belt every single year, they could be in the college football playoff every year and be a contender for a championship by that rate. That's what some of these other schools are doing. They just go and get head coaches that are way better than what they are, or way better at that school than where they probably should be at bigger schools somewhere else. This is a situation where it's so weird. And the Wisconsin Badgers haven't decided which direction they want to go yet. And I think if they want to stay pure and go and recruit high school kids across the country and go and still avoid doing what everybody else is doing, like Marquette is doing with Shaka Smart and that type of approach, you're not going to be better. This is going to hurt you significantly. But if you're willing to play the game, if you're willing to play a little bit dirty, like a lot of these other schools are doing, like in college basketball, that's a whole different situation that's going on there. But I wouldn't be surprised if that starts leaking into college football eventually. You
just don't have enough international players that are playing in the NFL for it.
No, but there's players that have played NBA games that are now getting eligibility to go back and play at the college level. Guys who have played in NFL games potentially could be practice squad guys, could potentially go back if they have the eligibility at this point. Teams are going to try and figure that out. The Badgers have to find a way to either play the game or lose it. And if the NCAA doesn't figure it out soon, this game's going to get way out of hand for them.
So when we talk about football, the top cream of the crop guys are always going to be recruited, are always going to have D1 scholarships and so forth. the people that are going to be the ones that are screwed are going to be the guys that are on the bottom of those rosters, where before they would have been filled with scholarship players. Now those bottom roster spots, well, I don't know about bottom to middle roster spots, now we're going to be filled by portal people, right? For a majority of these. Before, it was all high school kids were coming in every year. You had that class that came in. Now you're going to have coaches going, I don't need that many high school kids on this roster. Let's cut that in half and let's fill those other spots with portal guys coming in, because that's going to be the next thing that's going to have to be determined is, does college football step in and say, look, you have to have X amount of high school kids in every recruiting class on a year-to-year basis to essentially ensure that high school kids are still coming in at decent-sized numbers? Because if they do not do that, I think there is a very, very growing possibility that you're going to start to see these recruiting classes start to shrink smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller across the board, to where the guys at Alabama and LSU and Georgia and so forth, they're like, I don't think I really need to go play this game. I'll go get my top 10 players in the country. And then after that, I'm going to use the portal going forward. Somebody else can develop these kids at their university. When it's time, I'll go get who I want. Meaning, I have the, 20th best kid in Alabama. And prior, Alabama and Auburn and Georgia, one of them would have had that kid. Now it's like, we're good. And that kid goes and plays at Illinois or Wisconsin or whatever. That kid ends up being really good after a year or two. What happens? They come calling. Hey, time to come home, play from mom and dad. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars to come home. Sounds good. I'm out of here. Into the portal they go. So what's going to end up happening, I think, and you're seeing it, is these schools that aren't top 5, top 10 schools will be essentially the developing ground for the powerhouse schools at the top. And if you're not careful, the Wisconsin Badgers are going to be one of these schools that will be developing talent for everywhere else. Kind of like you feel for Major League Baseball and the Milwaukee Brewers, right? We develop them, and then when it's time to pay them, somebody else gets the fruits of our labor and our patience to develop Prince Fielder and watch him leave. Develop Corbin Burns and watch him leave, right? That's the type of stuff where, if you're Wisconsin, can you avoid being the school that develops but then can't hold? And if you are the school that develops, then you better also be able to work your magic in the transfer portal as well and get guys that had huge impacts right away in year one, because nobody's waiting around for a 4-year project anymore.
I also feel like it might be a little too late for Wisconsin to do that, though. I think you look at Indiana, and last year was that first kind of real push of this whole transfer portal craze. You saw it kind of explode. There was guys using it prior to that, and how openly, and that was kind of more rare. But now with how they've run that team with Curt Cignetti, they've gotten ahead of that and been able to figure out what to do. And all the other teams that are competing have all been teams that either have been successful recently or have been successful in the last 20 years, to where these kids that are coming in do understand the prestige of that university. And right now, Wisconsin, I don't think, has been successful enough in the past 20 years, and definitely hasn't been successful in the past 5 years or so, to warrant that kind of approach. And it's a little too late to start digging yourself out of that hole unless you can find the right person that can draw in these types of recruits. So there's some part of me that feels like this is what the NCAA wanted. This kind of Wild West craziness. This all stemmed from schools and players just wanting to pay those players for using their likenesses. And now all of a sudden it's gotten way out of hand, to the point where the NCAA comes back and say, look, I told you this was going to happen. We're just going to let anybody do whatever, because this is what you guys wanted. You wanted players to get paid. You wanted all the money to flow freely between the schools. Sorry, you guys are screwing yourself out of this. Even though it looks bad for the NCAA, this feels like something that they were asking for so that they can come back and save it. And you know what? Create a 4th division now. Split Division 1 in half. So then you have Division 1A, Division 1B, Division 2, Division 3. And now all of a sudden you have 4 divisions to make even more money from. This is all just starting to look really weird from the NCAA's perspective.
Does the new landscape of college football give the Badgers more or less of a chance to win a championship? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I would say right now, it gives them less of a chance to win a championship, because until they can prove me wrong on how much they can financially give out on a year-to-year basis, not 1 year, right? This whole thing of, we're going to spend a lot more money, the upcoming season. Okay, well, what happens the year after that? Do we then regress back to where we were, and you're going to spend, like, for instance, are they the Pirates? Oh, we're going to spend all the money this year. We're the Athletics, right? Oh, we're going to spend all the money this year.
Or the Brewers.
And then the following year, yeah, but even Mark doesn't do that. Then the following year, all of a sudden, we regress and we go back to being who we were, right? So show me that you can play at a big boy level on a year-to-year basis, and then maybe I'll change my mind. If you're looking for hope, right, and you're that positive person listening, Curt Cignetti turned around Indiana immediately, which means a coach could come in here and potentially do the same thing at Wisconsin. Talk about academic standards and so forth and all that stuff. Similar. Right? I mean, there's not much of a deal. There's not that big of a deal. He's got to struggle the same way Wisconsin does as far as probably finding players that fit in what they want to do at Indiana. The difference is they came up with big NIL players, big dollar guys and women. They came in and threw money and helped him get who he needed. Will Wisconsin be able to get those players, and will they be the right players that fit into what Luke Fickell's coaches want?
Well, and with Indiana, they also weren't going out and always getting the top transfer portal guys. They're finding that 5, 6 ranked guy, the quarterbacks, the running backs that have the potential and know how they can fit within Curt Cignetti's offense. So it's not just about overloading on talent, paying a ton of money, because if that doesn't work out, then you're going to lose those sponsors too, because they're going to say, hey, we just gave you all this money. Why is this not working? Well, it's because Luke Fickell got a bunch of players that don't fit within his scheme. How are they supposed to win?
The scheme that continues to change on offense. Nikolay Latalka, text line 262 says, I'm not worried about it. Right now, we can't even develop anyone that other schools even want. That's from Shoulder Fat on the Nikolay Talk and text line. Take a quick timeout, come back. Roster maneuvering going on by the Green Bay Packers involving several names. We'll tell you what that's all about on the other side. Just got that email while we were talking. And a text messenger yesterday brought up an interesting question concerning Malik Willis and Jordan Love. We'll address that next. That's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, and don't forget, you're a big wrestling fan, you're ready to rumble? Join wrestling legend Kevin Nash on January 31st at Potawatomi Casino Hotel for an elevated viewing experience of the Royal Rumble. Watch your favorite WWE superstars battle it out in the match of the year. Located in the annex of the Potawatomi Casino. For just $100 a person, so that gets you in. There's only 60 tickets, so there's only going to be 60 of you. 2 free drinks, unlimited buffet access, photo and autograph with Kevin Nash, $25 reward or match play to play your favorite games on Potawatomi, a shot at winning your own signed WWE Championship belt as well. All you have to do to get one of these tickets is go to Potawatomi.com and look for the events page. Click on that. You can get your ticket. Potawatomi.com or looking for the events page at that point. January 31st at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel for the Royal Rumble, and you get to hang out and watch it with WWE legend superstar Kevin Nash.
Willis steps up. Willis gets in front of the line of scrimmage. Stays on his feet. First and goal. Incredible effort from the quarterback, Malik Willis.
Highlight courtesy of NBC and Peacock. Sparky with you. Charlie using over there. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. So yesterday on the Nicolay Law talk and text line, we had a person text at the end of the show and asked us this question. Who would scare you more as an opposing quarterback if you were the Packers? Jordan Love or Malik Willis? Who would scare you more, right? You're going into a game, you're having to scout and get ready to face somebody. Who would concern you more, scare you more going into that game, Love or Willis? Nicolay Law, talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 on the socials at WI Sports Radio, streaming live on X and on YouTube. I told you that Packers had some roster moves. I want to address that right now as well. Packers claim defensive lineman Jonathan Ford off waivers from the Bears, which we knew and talked about earlier. That happened yesterday, former draft pick of the Packers. They signed Shamar Bartholomew and Jalen Simpson, two cornerbacks, from the practice squad to the active roster. They signed running back Damian Martinez to the practice squad. They placed Kamal Haddon and defensive lineman Jordan Riley on injured reserve. And they release Quinton Bohanna, the defensive lineman, all happening just now from the Green Bay Packers. I told you before, and I'm dead serious, Bo Melton, there is a chance that man is playing cornerback for this team before the end of the year when you bring up two cornerbacks from the practice squad.
I mean, yeah, maybe, but also at the same time, Quinn Bohanna being released is a little strange to me. You still need defensive tackles. I know you're bringing in Jonathan Ford, but that's to replace Jordan Riley, who went down with the Achilles tear. Now you're down still one extra defensive tackle, releasing Quinn Bohanna.
That means Stackhouse will be active.
Yeah, I guess, but I just don't believe in Stackhouse that much either. I don't know. Like, I think right now, yeah, your cornerback room is suffering, but you know the players that are on the field. You're healthy in that position. Yeah. I'd rather have the more safety nets at the defensive tackle position.
Well, they're in trouble at both positions.
That's
so
right,
pick your poison. Pick your poison of where you want to go. I mean, they are in trouble. Hobbs can't seemingly stay healthy, so you have that as an issue. Then you have both of your starting cornerbacks, Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine. And then Bullard is at the nickel, which is good. That's fine there. That's it.
Nate Hobbs.
Yeah, I led with Nate Hobbs. He can't stay healthy. He's always rolling
he's there right now.
He's rolling over in pain every time somewhere in the game something happens and, I'm dying. And then off to the sideline he goes. And then either he misses a game or two or he eventually comes back in. But they need depth at the cornerback position. And like you said, they need depth on the defensive line too. All right, so I thought this was a really good question. Who would scare you more as an opposing quarterback? Love or Willis? Nicolay Law, talk and text line 414-677-1250. Dusty Evely was on earlier in the show for the Mason Crosby show with Mitch Thunder Nellis, presented by Verizon before this show from noon to 2. And Dusty Evely has a great piece. You go follow him on X at Dusty Evely, talking about how this offensive scheme has been pared way down from what Jordan Love runs. And talks about this is not the same offense that they run for Jordan Love with Malik Willis, which we all knew. We've all talked about this offense with Jordan Love versus Malik Willis. Regardless if it's pared down or not, regardless if it's not as complicated or not, it works for Malik Willis and this Packers team. Now, as many of you have pointed out, if a team has a chance to prepare for Malik Willis, would they have a better chance of stopping the Green Bay Packers and this pared down offense, as Dusty Evely likes to put it? Yes. But the counter to that is if Malik Willis was going to be your starting quarterback for the rest of the year or from week one, that offense, I'm sure, would be expanded greatly if he was going to be the guy for the entire offseason versus, okay, you're playing this week and then, back to the bench you go. So we're going to just do these specialized plays that you're really good at and we're going to roll with this versus opening it up a little bit more, maybe for Malik Willis, like they do with Jordan Love, who knows the offense as well as Matt LaFleur does.
I don't know if I'm fully guaranteeing that the offense gets opened up that much more. I mean, we've only ever seen Malik Willis be successful in this limited style offense in his career.
Yeah, but
when
the
he's
offense itself, hold on a second. The offense itself has expanded since, say, last year in week 2. Right?
It has, but you've
They've
also
opened it up a little bit for him.
You've had an extra year with him.
Yes.
You've played teams that probably need a more advanced style of offense in the Chicago Bears when he had to play a majority of that game, and the Baltimore Ravens versus last year again when you're playing teams like the Colts who were in shambles at that point, Jacksonville who wasn't very good at that point, the Saints who weren't very good at that point. I think you didn't have to have a more advanced offense. I don't know. I still just worry that if he were on an opposing team, that offense, I guess, needs to be with the perfect head coach paired with him. And Matt LaFleur right now seems like a really good head coach to be paired with Malik Willis. Because of that, he doesn't concern me all that much. When he gets put in situations where he can open up the run game, when the wide receivers are clearing out a lot of the inside of the field, which is what we saw against the Baltimore Ravens, he was able to run more. I think this is a situation where, again, it's not just his talent that's doing this. He is relying heavily on the coaching staff to put him in that position.
Right. And that is exactly why I don't think anybody's going to give him a huge contract, because I think people realize that Matt LaFleur is really helping to put him in the position that he's in. Matt LaFleur is doing a hell of a job, as is that offensive coaching staff, as far as making this work for Malik Willis and put him in a position to succeed and not sticking him into something that is strictly only for Jordan Love at the end of the day. And that, to me, is what a good coach is supposed to do, right? I mean, think about it. How many high school coaches, basketball, football, whatever, will only run one style of offense? That's it. I know I want to run this type of offense. Okay. And then they go from A school to B school. And at the second school, they don't have the talent that they had at the first school. They're not the same. But you know what? I only run my offense. So you all, even though you're not as athletic as the last kids, we're going to run my offense. I'm not adapting to what I have. You're going to adapt to this. And yeah, we may not be good, but eventually I'll get kids that'll fit my system. That drives me nuts, right? Drives me nuts. Well, there are coaches in the National Football League are the same way. They know what type of defense they want to play, and that is what they're going to stick with. And on offense, same type of deal. Chip Kelly, we just talked about him. He's going to run his offense. He ain't going to change. It's not happening. Matt LaFleur's had to bend a little bit in order to make this work for Malik Willis, and he has. He's put him into a situation. He's calling plays for him. He'd never call for Jordan Love, but it works for Malik Willis. And I know there are some of you that don't want this guy here, and whatever. It is what it is. However this thing plays out is out of our control. Ed Policy is the only one that's going to make that determination of whether he stays or whether he goes. But if you're telling me, hey, I get to play one or the other, Jordan Love, based on numbers and so forth, is what? Top 5, top 7 quarterback in the National Football League this year? Based on numbers, based on advanced stats and counting numbers that us normal people look at, he is right there at the top of the National Football League. Now, if this is the offense that we're running with Matt LaFleur with Jordan Love, then I'm more concerned about Malik Willis. Want to know why? Because Matt LaFleur wants to run when Jordan Love is on that football field, and he wants to establish the run and take some pressure off of Jordan Love. Very rarely is he allowing Jordan Love to wing it all over the place. I saw Zach Cruz from USA Today earlier today on social media. And Zach Cruz said the only way this team is going to win in advance is if they put the keys to the car in Jordan Love's hands and say, go get him. Throw, attack. Don't worry about anything else. Just go be that Ferrari and use that explosive pass offense.
Jacob Morley yesterday said that same exact thing.
Said the same thing. I don't think Matt LaFleur is going to do that. I think he's going to get more conservative than ever because he does not want that other team's offense to be on the field any longer than it has to be to give his defense a rest. That's my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Morley and Zach Cruz will be right. Brett in Cedarburg, you're next on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. Who would scare you more as an opposing quarterback, Jordan Love or Malik Willis, Brett?
Real quick question before that. Is this what we talk about when our team sucks and lost 3 games in a row and going to get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs?
No, we wouldn't be talking about this if Malik Willis looked horrible. This wouldn't even be a conversation or a point.
No, it's Jordan Love all day, you guys. He was probably going to be the MVP if he didn't get hurt. That's what I believe.
He's not even a Pro Bowler. How the hell was he going to be an MVP?
He was in the top 3, top 4 before he got hurt. I don't know why he's not a Pro Bowler. He gets no respect around the league.
Correct.
Even in Wisconsin, he gets no respect.
Okay.
The guy's a baller. We've watched him play ball for the last couple of years. He can make every throw. He can run. He's smart. I mean, he's a great football player. I like Malik, but Malik probably goes to a different team. It's going to suck next year.
And that's what we're going to find out. Thanks for the call. That's exactly it. And if he doesn't, and he actually ends up being good too, do you know who's going to benefit from that?
Who's that?
Matt LaFleur.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a big feather in his cap. Malik Willis goes somewhere and starts, and they win 9-10 games, and he's doing this crazy stuff like he does for the Packers somewhere else and does it consistently all year long. LaFleur is going to have that feather in his cap if he developed that guy who was horrible when he got to Green Bay, developed him, and look at what he turned him into at that next stop. And he's going to get credit for developing Jordan Love, who at some point, like Brett said, might win an MVP, right? And might win a Super Bowl. That's going to be another feather in Matt LaFleur's cap, too, as being a potential quarterback whisperer by the time this whole thing is said and done. Now, if Malik Willis goes somewhere else and doesn't look anything like he looks in Green Bay and goes back to looking like he did in Tennessee, do you know who's going to win there? Matt LaFleur, because under Matt LaFleur's guidance, he was a rock star. Without Matt LaFleur, not so much. Matt LaFleur is going to win either way in this whole deal, because either way, it's all going to point back to Matt LaFleur being a big part of his success.
I think the big difference, though, is where he's going to get the majority of that praise from. I think if Malik Willis goes out there and balls out for another team next season, he'll get that praise from across the league. And I think a guy like Brian Gutekunst, who's currently getting the praise from the Packers, will still kind of get that praise. I think when you look at it from the perspective of if Malik Willis goes somewhere else and doesn't ball out, Matt LaFleur, I think from the Packers gets that praise.
Yep.
And then Brian Gutekunst, I think, still gets the fleece from the NFL. People still say it was a good trade, but the Packers look at that trade a little less and say, you know what? Well, maybe it wasn't worth as much without Matt LaFleur. That might have been a bad trade. We might have lost a 7th-round pick that we could have used to help our cornerback room or our defensive line that season. So I think right now, Brian Gutekunst is hoping that he goes out and balls out somewhere too, so that he still gets that praise from the Packers for helping bring in a guy that was moldable. I think from Matt LaFleur's perspective, like you said, it's a win-win either way, but it's more of a win if he goes out there and doesn't play well from the Packers' perspective.
Matt LaFleur is in a position here to where if they keep him for one more year and they say, hey, lame duck year, you're going to have to just play through it, right? So he goes into that last year. It could be really something that backfires on the Green Bay Packers, because if we go into next year, you get Micah Parsons back, you get Tucker Kraft back, and I know this is a big what if, but what if they actually stay healthy next year, right? And they go make a run to a Super Bowl, and then your head coach is a free agent at the end of that year after you didn't trust him, and you didn't want to fire him, but you didn't trust him. So now you go, he gets to go and pick, hey, do I want to stay in Green Bay or do I want to go somewhere else? Because at that point, there'll be a line of owners going, we'll pay you more than Green Bay. How much will it take you to get to come to Miami? How much will it take you to get to come to LA?
Come back to Nashville. Tennessee would be the perfect place for Matt LaFleur with a young quarterback in Cam Ward.
But I'll give you another one right now. I was having this conversation with my 18-year-old. He's a Falcons fan. Go on X and search Falcons Malik Willis. People have Malik Willis in a Falcons uniform. Dolphins fans have him in a Dolphins uniform, right? Matt LaFleur was in Atlanta, if you remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. And Atlanta fans, as much as they're shipping Malik Willis out there, they're shipping Raheem Morris out. They hate him. They just go in on him every press conference.
Good coordinator, not a good game manager. Almost blew that thing last night as well. But, Matt LaFleur, if you're Atlanta and you're Arthur Blank and you need somebody for Michael Penix, that makes a whole bunch of sense at this point if he becomes a free agent and becomes available, kind of going forward, depending obviously on what happens. LaFleur could really, really cash out on this in a big way, whether it be with Green Bay or somebody else, if he's allowed to come back for one more year.
100%. Q out over in the
Q's the only one over there. He's talking to himself over there.
Well, but I like sharing some of the stuff he says because I know you'll get mad at it. Sparky, we haven't won a game with Willis this year. We giving feathers for almost now. We almost made the Super Bowl. We almost won the division. We almost won a playoff game. Why do we give Matt LaFleur all these almost awards? What are we, the Bears? Let's trade Matt LaFleur then.
Yeah, by all means, we got to trade him for. Oh, I know. You want Eberflus, Q? You want me to go get Eberflus?
Again, you can get the Matts.
Stuff.
Matt Nagy, head coach, can run the offense for you. Matt Eberflus can run the defense for you. It's perfect.
Dan Pompei just wrote a great piece for The Athletic on Matt Nagy.
It was awesome.
Great piece. And Nagy's going to get a shot to be a head coach. Maybe maybe Ed Policy goes that way. Hey, Nagy, look at what he's done with Patrick Mahomes over there. Hell of an offensive mind. We're going to bring Matt Nagy in to be the next head coach. And then all you people that didn't want Matt LaFleur can celebrate that Matt Nagy, former Bears head coach, is going to be here. Tell you, man, there's no chance. I want to see what's on the other side of Matt LaFleur at this point. I don't. I'm not on that bandwagon. I'm not going to be on that bandwagon. Does the man frustrate me? Absolutely, he frustrates me, but I am scared to see what might be replaced if he were to leave. Coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Sparky here, Charlie Usen over there. We're going to get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day momentarily. So, over Christmas, we were sick in our house. And talking to people in the last couple of days, I realized that apparently there were quite a few people that were sick over the holidays. So, because of that, we didn't get to celebrate Christmas with all the rest of my family. So, like my dad, we're going to go celebrate with him now on Saturday. We made those plans today. And then my brother's family, we are now going to do on New Year's Day. Is that wrong? Is that a bad idea? Celebrating Christmas on New Year's. I feel like it's a little sideways at the end of the day. Like Saturday's just a day. No big deal. Whatever. Yeah, not big deal. But celebrating Christmas on Happy New Year's. All right, let's open our Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Is that weird? Because it seems weird to me.
No, I don't think so. New Year's Day, like people don't celebrate New Year's Day. You celebrate New Year's Eve. You have that moment, and then New Year's Day is just to relax. Like that's the time where I think everybody just winds down on the couch, watches a few movies, gets yourself prepared for the new year.
Used to be a big college bowl day.
Oh, now it doesn't matter because the big college bowl games are happening 2 months from now, apparently.
Yes.
It's annoying.
Very, very annoying. Yes. So, all right. So you don't think there is?
No, I think you're fine. I think you guys are good.
Yeah. All right. So so that's gonna be the plan for my New Year's. I'll be doing Christmas on New Year's this year. First time. I don't believe I've ever done that before, but looking forward to that. All right. With that, let's go do this.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, so this is how this works. Top 3 sound clips from around the world of sports or otherwise. Charlie Usen, where are we going first?
First up, we're going to head over to college football where Steve Sarkisian, Texas head football coach, was discussing dealing with agents at the college level and why it's different from NFL agents.
There's some agents that are rational, and there's some that this is their first time ever being an agent. I don't even know if they're licensed to be agents, but all of a sudden they get to be agents, because we have no certification process in college football. Or in the NFL, you have to be certified. In college football, it might be their college roommate, their freshman year, who's their agent right now. And this guy's throwing numbers at you, and it's like, we can't even deal with this. Like, you just move on. And so it's unfortunate, and we'll get there in college football, but right now it's a tough situation. That being said, although there's so many factors that come into what you're trying to do, what are our needs, what are our luxuries, right? Those are two different things. And then trying to find the right mix and the right fit, because we can't lose sight of some of these kids that we signed out of high school either. Like, we got a pretty good running back coming in by the name of Derek Cooper that we're excited about as well. And so again, we've got to have our list of needs, our list of wants, and our list of luxuries. And then what's the dollar sign next to all that? Okay. And then what's the bottom dollar from an organizational standpoint? And the idea that I can sit up here in 2025 and talk about money and players and things is pretty crazy, right? From where we've gotten to where we were 4 or 5 years ago to where we are today. But that's the reality of the situation of college football right now. And that's where we are. Again, I think there's nothing wrong with that. We just got to tighten it up. And hopefully we can get there sooner rather than later. Because again, I'm probably going to be on the phone with an agent today that's going to throw a number at me that I'm going to be like, good luck. I hope you get it. If you don't, call us back, but I can't do that number.
So this is the thing. First of all, they have to fix the certification process. There has to be something in place to where you have to pass something or get through something to get to that point. If you're going to be an NIL agent, figure out a couple of different online things or whatever else, and you have to get through this process and get certified with certification before we are going to talk to you as a university. If it's going to be a real agent, not an NIL agent, but a player agent that's going to negotiate contracts outside of NIL, then that person has to be involved. If it's a marketing agent, because there's those too, then you have to be involved there. Let me throw something at you that I think makes this work the easiest and the quickest. They didn't want to pay these athletes. They had no interest. So I think the easiest way to do this is they're going to have to slot the money. That would be my recommendation. Of you slide the money and go quarterbacks in college football are going to get paid no higher than X. Running backs are going to get paid no higher than X. Wide receivers are going to pay no higher than X because that takes it out. So now everybody that wants crazy amounts of money are going to be stopped. Hey, I want 10 million. That's what the highest is for a quarterback. Cool. Boom. Alabama says, we'll take you. Okay. I want 10 million. Well, Alabama already spent their 10 million on a top player. So I got to go somewhere else. I got to go to Georgia or I got to go to LSU. Now, all of a sudden, now you give some of these other schools a little bit more of a chance to maybe compete for some of these guys. Same with the running back, same with offensive linemen, and slot it. There is no union for these kids. There is no union, which means you could have a salary cap as well and put a number on and say, look, we're going to pay all these kids these different salaries. And your whole roster's got to come in at X and it's got to be under X. Then make it all public knowledge. Every single kid number that they're bringing in is put out there for everybody to see on Spot Track or whatever you want to put it on and have it all out there so everybody sees what everybody is getting.
I think that might work, I guess, but then also you're going to cause a union to start with that because some offensive linemen are going to be mad that they are not getting paid the $10 million that maybe they're worth.
There's way too many kids involved in Division I football to ever get that pulled off.
They'll figure it out. I mean, I think at this point, somebody's going to try to step in.
Well, those kids at Northwestern tried it years ago, didn't they? And that failed miserably.
Each school might then get their own union then at that point and figure that out their own way and try to figure, because there's nothing stopping them from doing that. Each of these schools aren't.
I can't imagine schools have their own individual.
I didn't imagine NBA players going back to play and get 4 more years of eligibility at their college.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you're right. From that aspect, anything's possible. All right, what else you got?
Next up here, we're going to hear from Adrian Peterson, former NFL MVP and star running back. And he was wondering why Atlanta did not give Bijan Robinson a chance for 200 yards last night with the last few carries of the game.
So I just finished watching the LA Rams against Atlanta game. And towards the end of the game, you see Robinson, you know, he ended up with 195 yards. And I'm sitting there wondering why on the last run of the game, they give the ball to somebody else. This kid been balling all game, play after play, big play after big play. You guys are just handing the ball off to get a couple more yards to get a closer field goal. Why not give it to the kid, let him get his 200 or a chance to get 200 yards? I don't know. Make it make sense to me. I don't know. I was pissed off about that. Good win. You know, a win is a win. So I'm sure they're happy about that. But I just, as a running back, I just understand why you wouldn't give that kid a chance to at least get in the end zone or, you know, go after 200 yards.
I'm telling you right now, these coaches do not pay attention to that crap in football. I've learned that. They just don't pay attention to it. In the NBA, I feel like the bench players make the coaches aware of what's going on far more than the NFL players do. The NFL players are out there playing. And if Bijan would have went up to him and said, Coach, man, I got 5 yards. I got over 200. Give me the ball. You think Morris would be like, no? Yeah, okay, dude, go out there. It's over. It doesn't matter. Go get it. If he would have said something, they would have sent him out there. If one of the coordinators or coaches would have said something, they would have sent him out there. Nobody was paying attention. They were trying to screw Bijan out of 200 yards. Like, what do you think is... No,
I just feel like you got to know if he has that many yards. 195 is a lot of yards.
You're in the game. They don't pay attention. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie using over there. That was Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Up next, Green and Gold Update Time, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. The Packers haven't drafted a Pro Bowl player since 2019.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Happy Tuesday. New Year's Eve is tomorrow night. Charlie Usen, what are the plans tomorrow night?
We as in me and my girlfriend and some of my friends are going to Pato. So we're going to go hang out there for a little while, and then we're going to see where the night takes us from there. But it should be a good time out at Pato. I'm going to go stop by the sportsbook, see what's going on over there.
Go say hi to Austin.
I'm
Virginia.
sure he's going to be there.
Yeah.
You can't miss him. He's got the coolest ties on the market.
He does.
So, yeah, I'm going to go hang out there, spend a little money, have some fun. Yeah.
Oh, I like it. That's good. Are you a big bingo guy at Pato?
That would probably be my number one thing. I like bingo the most. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't really understand like the slots and stuff. There's too much happening there for me, so I'll try them, give it a shot. Usually don't win that much, but bingo, I know what's happening 100% of the time.
Love bingo. Love bingo. So yes, totally in with you on that. I really didn't think you were going to say bingo. I thought for sure you're like bingo. That's an old person thing. I thought for sure
bingo's fun, man.
That's where you were going to go
bingo.
with it. Yeah. And bingo, man, it's like $40 and you play forever. It feels like, and you play so many games while you're doing it.
I feel like you got to win at some point when you're playing bingo too.
You play slots, man. You could be out of money quick.
And again, there's so much going on. I'm like, did I win? Did I not win? What's happening?
I'm all about the penny slots. Like I can play plenty penny slots, goes a lot further, and you can sit there and do that all day long on $20, like without question.
Maybe I'll give that a shot.
Yeah, penny slots are fun. Okay, let's get to our 4:00 segment.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, let's get to our 4:00 segment. Now, this is something that I saw the other day, again on Twitter. The Packers haven't had a Pro Bowl selection from one of their draft picks since 2019, man. Right? So Elton Jenkins been a Pro Bowler?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to know from you, because that means we are now, 6 draft classes since then. 6 draft classes has now resulted in 1 Pro Bowl player since Elton Jenkins and Rashawn Gary and those guys were drafted that year. 6. What does that say to you? Because Brian Gutekunst gets a lot of praise for these drafts. I'm one of them. I've been giving him praise for his drafts as well. When I saw that, I was like, holy cow, that can't not be right. And then you go back and you look and you realize that, that appears That appears to be correct.
Eric Stokes was in a Pro Bowler?
No.
Kevin King was in a Pro Bowler?
Eric Stokes was in the news yesterday, I think it was, because everybody's still on the Raiders are tanking and blah, blah, blah. And Eric Stokes was like, hey, man, if you all don't want me to play hard, you must send me home too, because that's not happening. If you're putting me out there, I'm going to try and win a football game. If you don't want to win a football game, then by all means, send me home.
That's
like
a man trying to get a job moving forward here.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds
I'm not
like.
going to go out there and throw a game for you. I want to go out there and play.
He needs
like
money, dude.
Said,
he's got to feed family.
Right. He's got to keep playing, no doubt. So what does it say to you that they haven't had a Pro Bowler since 2019? Now, I understand. There is actually no Pro Bowl per se anymore, right? That game is gone. Now they have the Pro Bowl games, whatever that is. But there still is some prestige that goes along with it. Having said that, you've seen years where David Bakhtiari doesn't make a Pro Bowl, and yet he's an all-pro. What? How does that happen? So you do have that sometimes where they completely miss the boat on the Pro Bowl. But most of the time, the really good players end up in the Pro Bowl. Then you have well, Sparky, it's the year after. Jacob Morley told me that yesterday about Jordan Love. Well, it's the next year he'll get that advantage or he'll get that benefit given to him. Maybe. But as of right now, they don't have anybody. What does that say to you? Nikolai Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. In 2020, there are 5 guys still playing in the NFL from that draft. That's all. Jordan Love is in the league. A.J. Dillon's in the league. DeGuara apparently is still in the league. John Runyon Jr. and Jake Hansen. Those 5 are the only guys from that class. 4 others aren't even in the NFL anymore. Okay?
Okay.
So of those, only Jordan Love really has a chance to probably be a Pro Bowler. In 2021, the guys that are still in the league, their first-round pick, Eric Stokes, that's not happening. Josh Myers, their second-round pick. Obviously, he's not in Green Bay anymore. Then Amari Rodgers, the third-round pick out of Clemson, he's no longer in the league. Royce Newman, their fourth-round pick out of Mississippi, the guard, he's no longer in the league. Then you've got Slayton in the 5th round, Shamar Jean-Charles, Cole Van Lannon, and Isaiah McDuffie, the 6th-round pick, are all guys that are either on this team or somewhere else in the National Football League. There's nobody on that list that's going to be in the Pro Bowl for the Green Bay Packers anytime soon. 2022. Now, here is the one where you go, okay, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Christian Watson, Sean Ryan, Romeo Doubs, Zach Tom, Kingsley Ngabare, Jonathan Ford, Rasheed Walker, all guys still playing in the league or are on the Green Bay Packers. You would think Zach Tom's time is coming. You would think Christian Watson's time is coming. But with Watson, he can never stay healthy long enough to put him in a position to do so. So if he can ever stay healthy, I would think he's a Pro Bowler at some point. And if Zach Tom can stay healthy next year and play at a high level, he's probably going to be a Pro Bowler.
Well, and I would say Devontae Wyatt probably has a shot too. There's not a whole lot of high-profile defensive tackles in the NFL right now, so that's a guy that if he can have a breakout season, could have a lot of fan voting behind him in that sense. There's a lot of guys where I feel like a guy like Zach Tom at the tackle position, there's just so many premier young offensive tackles right now that I don't know if he will ever get his shot, because guys like Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt both play for Los Angeles and are both amazing. You have these great players across the league, and it's the same with the wide receiver position. It's kind of hard to picture those guys getting that type of love nationally that some of these other players in high-profile markets are getting.
Go to 23. Lucas Van Ness? No.
Future Pro Bowler. What do you mean?
Luke Musgrave? No. Jaden Reed? Probably not. Tucker Kraft, yes. He was on his way to doing it this year, and then again, he got hurt. Colby Wooden, no. Sean Clifford, no. Dontavian Wicks, Carl Brooks, Carrington Valentine, Lou Nichols, Anthony Johnson.
No, none of those guys. Can't say I picture a future for any of those guys.
Tucker Kraft's the only one.
Yeah.
That means 24. Jordan Morgan. Don't know. We'll see about left tackle. We'll see. I was seeing Ryan Horvath texting about, and Horvath was part of BetMGM tonight for a long time. And back in the day, Milwaukee was on the morning show. And he was talking about, those people in Milwaukee didn't want Cooper DeJean. I was on the bandwagon the whole time. I was like, oh. So I looked. Cooper DeJean has 2 picks this year. I mean, fell down. And he's a nickelback. Fine. Bullard's good enough. Like, I'm not too worried about Bullard and the job he's done. I think he's done just fine at that nickel position. If DeJean was more of a boundary corner consistently, and that was an upgrade that we could have, and maybe he would be a boundary corner here because they don't have any. So maybe he would play here, and how he would do in that situation, I have no idea. But like I said then, and I'll say now, if Jordan Morgan ends up being a starting left tackle and a Pro Bowler at left tackle, I'll take that any day of the week over a cornerback. Any day. And I'm not going to rule out that he might not be a Pro Bowl left tackle at some point, because that's where he played in college and where he wanted to play in the NFL.
And he's looked okay in 2 games at right tackle so far. So, there's semi-bright future there. Yeah. And the other thing that Philadelphia benefits from is that their defensive front has just been monstrous this season. That's part of the reason they're able to win games 13-12, because their defensive line gets pressure every single snap. Doesn't matter. It helps to be a cornerback in the situation. When the Packers had Micah Parsons at the beginning of the year, I didn't hear nearly as many people complaining about Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine then.
Nope.
So
they were not. Edgerrin Cooper, he was me a Pro Bowler at some point. Bullard, the person we don't talk about, Tyron Hopper, Evan Williams, Jacob Monk, Oladapo, Travis Glover, Kalen King, all guys. Only Michael Pratt not in on the active roster right now in the National Football League from that entire 24 draft class. But I mean, in that class, Cooper, I think, is going to be a Pro Bowler at some point, unless something dramatic happens. I don't think I'd put it past Evan Williams maybe to make it 1 year. And then Jordan Morgan is the big what if. And if they're right and he is that left tackle, then everybody that's been criticizing that pick, like me, will have to eat crow because it very well could turn out to be a great pick. And he's just going through his Jordan Love sitting years right now, waiting to get that left tackle spot. Let's go to John in Mequon. You're next on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. Packers haven't drafted a Pro Bowl player since 2019. What does that say to you, John?
What that's saying to me is that they are definitely missing on these draft picks. It's a swing and a miss. Very few Pro Bowl players means that they're averaging like a C grade from what I see. They're missing out on great talent that you go back. It started back in 2017 when we missed on T.J. Watt. That front office had T.J. Watt right there, and then they passed on him and they took Kevin King instead in the 4th round pick. Back in 2019, we had 2 first-round picks. We had an opportunity to really do some damage in that draft. And with 2 second-round picks, we had like A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf both available with our that we could have taken in the first round with one of our second first-round picks, for instance. So they're obviously not doing a good enough job at drafting players. They got to do so much better. They're just missing out on too many talented guys. And that's, to me, is the key, especially when you got these huge contracts. You got to be able to draft guys, be able to fill in at the offensive line and defensive line and all the other positions.
So that's the thing, though, John. Thanks for the call. That's the thing, right? How many of the guys on this team aren't draft picks? I mean, if you think about it, how many of these guys aren't guys they drafted? Okay, so you signed Aaron Banks. The rest of that offensive line are draft picks. I mean, unless Kennard is starting, but the rest of that line are draft picks, right? So that's that. Wide receiver group, all picks. There's no veteran free agent that they brought in from anywhere. The tight end position, yeah, they brought in Fitzpatrick and Wiley, yes, but for the most part, Musgrave and Kraft were those 2 guys at the beginning of the year. Those are draft picks. Now, running back, that's different, right? You went and spent money on Josh Jacobs, so I understand that part of it. And then the defensive side, again, you've been spending all of your draft picks on defensive players that realistically haven't panned out. They really haven't. Adrian Cooper looks like he's going to work. Quay Walker, have your take on Quay Walker. That's fine. And then you have Devontae Wyatt, who's up front. Slayton already moved on and went somewhere else at this point. Lucas Van Ness has not worked out as of right now. Nixon and Valentine and Evan Williams. McKinney is their guy. I mean, what is it? Probably 80% of the starters, maybe the number is higher than that, are draft picks on this team.
Yeah, it's all Brian Gutekunst built right there. But also, I guess this is a perspective that I haven't really thought about up until we're asking this question. It does seem a little weird to me that every free agent move that you make, every trade that you make so far, feels like it's for a player that is there to immediately come in and be one of the focal points of that defense. Whereas I feel like when you look at a team like what the Chicago Bears have done this past offseason, they've brought in pieces that, yes, are still top of the league tier players like a Joe Thuney to play that left guard position, but then also are there to complement the players that you've already drafted and the players that you expect to be stars at some point. I think that does concern me a little bit, that the players that the Packers have drafted so far aren't the focal points outside of a Jordan Love. Outside of that, it's all people that you have brought in to be the focal point, and now you're asking all the guys that you've drafted to try to figure it out with that guy, which is working to some degree, but not taking you over that hurdle.
What's the perfect way to do it in your mind?
I think you got to try and be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to the draft, which I don't think the Packers have overall done that outside of Matthew Golden this year. And I think that was a little bit of a weird aggressive pick in my mind. That was something that Mark Murphy felt like he probably had to do, and the Packers were okay with that. And I think outside of that, they've gone and tried to be aggressive in other ways, but it doesn't help the overall depth, the overall strength of this team. It's helping one specific position that if that goes away, you're screwed.
See, but this is the thing, though. I mean, you say that, but the depth on this team is because of the draft. The depth is the draft. And the reason the depth is the draft is because Gutekunst consistently trades, adding more picks left and right and adding more players. If you go through that list, I mean, you just go back here. I mean, that 24 draft class has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 11 guys right now are on the roster for the Green Bay Packers. If you go back to the 23 class, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 guys from that class are still on this roster. I mean, between those two, that's like 20 dudes that are on this roster right now from the last 2 draft classes. If you go back to 22, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because Ford is back, 9 guys from that draft class are on this roster. Like, the roster's depth is built by draft picks. I think in a situation where you want to criticize Gutekunst, I think you criticize Gutekunst for not signing more veterans to be the depth pieces on this team and relying too heavily on his draft class like he's done. And he learned that from who? Ted Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Ted Thompson did things. He's been far more aggressive in free agency than Ted ever was. Far more aggressive has Brian Gutekunst been. I mean, Preston Smith, Darius Smith, those guys, Ted Thompson ain't doing all that. He's had 4 big free agents in that one class. You had Adrian Amos, Darius Smith, Preston Smith, and then the offensive lineman whose name I'm blanking on. But you had 4 big-name free agents in his first class. And then to come back and spend money on Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. And then last year when everybody's like, okay, he's done, he goes out and gets a guard and a corner. Now the corner hasn't worked out. The guard hasn't really worked out either. But he's still being aggressive and throwing money out there and bringing in veterans to help this roster, which again, very, very different than the Ted Thompson-led Packers. But he still believes in the core fundamentals of building and developing through the draft and then supplementing that with free agency, which in my mind is a much better balance than what Ted Thompson ever had when he was here.
I don't think you can go full in with, if your bench depth is going to be your draft picks, that can't also all be your starters. If your bench depth or if your starters are all veterans, that can't all be your bench depth. You need younger players to slide in that way. I think it's part of the reason the Rams have been able to survive as long as they have through, big personnel changes. They've kept a veteran quarterback, but everybody else around there, they've had a nice mix of veterans that have been able to step up and young players that are looking for a role to kind of expand themselves in. And the Bears took that approach this offseason. You're seeing it work for them. I think the Packers have the ability to do that. They just have to take that next step.
Okay, let's take a quick time. I'll come back on the other side. We'll continue to talk about the Green Bay Packers. We're going to do something that I put on Twitter the other day that got a ton of feedback. A lot of angry people at me acting like they know why I asked the question. And as I explained yesterday, I asked the question to see if there was something there to talk about on this radio show, right? Oh, there's something there to talk about on this radio show because there are so many of you that want to see Matt LaFleur gone. But then when I asked the question, well, that kind of changed everything. The question is simple. How much faith do you have that the Green Bay Packers can find a play caller that's better than Matt LaFleur? Can move on from Matt LaFleur? Cool. See ya. Have a nice day, Matt. That's cool, though, because I got somebody, Sparky, that'll come in and be as good, if not better, than Matt LaFleur. And when I put it out, I said a play caller, as good as Kyle Shanahan or Ben Johnson. Can you bring in a guy like that can match up with these guys in the NFC? Let's see what you think on this one. Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Are you ready to rumble? Join wrestling legend Kevin Nash on January 31st at Potawatomi Casino Hotel for an elevated viewing experience of the Royal Rumble. Watch your favorite WWE superstars battle it out in the match of the year, located in the annex of the Potawatomi Casino. For just $100 a person, you get 2 free drinks. Unlimited buffet access, photo and autograph with the legend Kevin Nash, $25 reward or match play to play your favorite games on Potawatomi, and a shot at winning your own WWE signed championship belt. Secure your spot now by simply going to Potawatomi.com and then get on the events page. Again, they're only selling 60 tickets, and when they're sold, it's done. It's going to be a very small group that's going to watch the Royal Rumble with Kevin Nash. So again, Potawatomi.com and hop on the events page today. It is that time again. Sparky, Charlie Usen, Tommy Wirtz coming up. 5 to 6 Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up. Get you the best of the sound from earlier today here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Thanks for listening along on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. The Flamethrower, 99.7 FM, WNFL in Green Bay and Appleton. 710 The Game in Duluth and Superior area. 93.9 The Game in Wausau. And, of course, southeastern Wisconsin, 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan in Milwaukee. And, again, thanks for tuning in. Always do appreciate it. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell people that you know. People still probably aren't fully aware that this network exists, so always good to tell people when you're out and about. We were just talking about New Year's Eve plans, and Charlie and crew, you're going to Potawatomi.
Yes, sir.
Right.
We're going to go have a good time.
So you're going to do your thing. So this is a perfect opportunity for the rest of you when you're out and about having beverages with your friends. Hey, man, you listen to Sparky on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Hey, you hear that Inside Wisconsin Sports? Like got Doug Gottlieb on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. Unbelievable. He coaches UW Green Bay. Doesn't matter. He's so good to listen to. Promise you. Check that out. Hey, did you hear John Kuhn? He's on the radio from 9 to noon with that guy Rami, who's a Bears fan. At least they got John Kuhn on the show. Mason Crosby, he's on the air, noon to 2 with that guy they call Thunder. Yeah, man. Perfect time to spread the love and tell everybody about the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, wherever you may be across the state. You can always stream the show, wisportsradio.com. Of course, stream us live on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio there, too, as well as Instagram or on Facebook. How much faith do you have that the Packers can find a play caller that's better than Matt LaFleur if they were to move on? Nicolay Law, talking text line 414-677-1250. I put this up on social media during the Bears-Niners game. And the question on social media I had is, so if the Packers decide to move on from their current head coach, how much faith do you have that they can find a play caller on the same level as Ben Johnson or Kyle Shanahan? Wisconsin family responded, I'm never opposed to upgrading and no problem moving on from LaFleur if I am policy. Only under one condition. In my mind, I must know that the new coach I have in mind is going to be an upgrade from what LaFleur has been. Otherwise, I ride with LaFleur until I do feel that in a coach. To which I say, A+, standing ovation, hug. I am with you, Wisconsin family. Ed Policy better be sold 1,000% that he's got a great offensive mind and play caller that can come in and lead this team. If you do not have that as a certainty, you cannot move on.
Sparky said hug. That's how you know he really liked that. He never gives hugs.
Right.
Mitch loves giving hugs, and Sparky never takes one.
It's one thing to say verbal hug versus actually physically doing that, though.
I guess that's
two
fair.
Totally different things.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to move on from a Matt LaFleur, I think the only people in my mind that are better than him that would be available are random college coaches that you want to give a chance to. All the great play caller offensive coordinators that were available all got signed this past year and are doing pretty good.
I've got one.
Oh, who are you thinking?
I think did I tell you or did I tell Tommy?
I think you told Tommy because I don't remember this.
I like Todd Monken, play caller in Baltimore. He's been a good play caller wherever he's been. Pick college or pros. I like him. Older, right? Not a younger guy, whatever. But that's one guy I think I would be very, very interested in if you were to move on from Matt LaFleur. And as I said numerous times, I have no interest in moving on from Matt LaFleur, like some of you do. But if you were to go that route, maybe that's a guy that you have some faith in that can come in and still do this. Because what you cannot have happen is you cannot have regression from Jordan Love because the next play caller and Jordan Love can't get on the same page. That cannot be a thing.
He's taken too many steps forward at this point that if he takes any step back, it's going to look like a huge failure based off that contract that you gave him, based on where you drafted and when you drafted him.
Right.
I think these are all things that you can't let creep into Jordan Love's mind. So if you have somebody that is going to replace Matt LaFleur, he has to be able to be on that same page with Jordan Love and immediately pick up where he left off, which probably means it also has to be somebody that knows the team and knows the system and knows how to deal with this type of transition, which again, you're just not going to find unless you're making Adam Stenavich the head coach.
Right. Absolutely right. No question. And see, that's the other part about this too. I think from a Packers standpoint, when you look at this and who's going to be that guy to be the next play caller, going back to what you said, it is possibly going down into the college ranks and finding out who that guy is going to be that can come in here and do as good of a job as Matt LaFleur has done while he's been here. I know there are a lot of people that are like, dude, there is no way they are moving on from Matt LaFleur. There is no chance that's happening. To which I tell you, I don't think I would completely buy into that necessarily at this point. Because if they do not extend him, if that policy does not extend him, that means he's not sold. That means he's going into a lame duck year with a GM or an owner, president, whatever you want to call it, policy, that's not bought into how good he really is. After having been in the building the entire time Matt LaFleur has been there, that would be the one thing that would have irritated me had I been Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur. You were here. You been with us the entire time. You know both of us. We have relationships with you. So for you to say, well, I need to see more now that I'm in charge. If I was both of those guys, I'd be like, well, that's not good. Like that's not a good sign. I become a lot more sure that I have a job if I'm Brian Gutekunst once he signs off on Micah Parsons. Because at that point, it's like, hey, you thought this was a good idea too. You can't take me out because it doesn't work or something happens. So that pretty much, in my mind, cemented in Gutekunst going forward. The LaFleur thing, though, with all these injuries, you would think he gets the pass on this. But again, you talk to people that are close to that situation, and it doesn't sound like they're convinced policy necessarily is going to give him a pass on all these injuries. It's going to still come down to how they play the rest of the way out.
When Micah Parsons got hurt, we brought up the idea that Matt LaFleur is either going to prove himself as one of the best head coaches in the league, or he's going to be able to rely on injuries at the end of this 4-game stretch that we're going to see. And it was, if he could go and win these next 4 games or 3 out of these next 4 games, he was going to get a ton of praise for helping guide this team past that big loss. And that if he were to go and lose 3 of these 4, lose all 4, he was going to get just no blame because everybody was injured. You weren't going to do this. And that's not how it looks. People are mad at him right now. People are not happy with the way that he's managed these games late on. The start of the games have been perfectly fine. It's been those last second halves and beyond that have tortured him a little bit. And that's something that you just can't deal with. And I think the organization sees that. And to your point, Ed Policy does know these guys. He's seen them. He's seen what they can do. And the fact that he hasn't just extended them says that he is not sold on them, even kind of slightly, in my mind, means he needs to see a lot. And I don't think you saw a lot this season from Matt LaFleur.
Steve says, I don't trust Gutey. Take a deep dive into his drafts. 22 is by far his best. Everything else is weak. Only 2 Pro Bowlers drafted. The scouting department needs to be overhauled. He refuses to do it. And you think I can trust him to find me the next head coach? His time is up as well. I don't think so. I don't think he's in danger. I think he's going to get to hire this next guy because I don't think, and he was in the room technically, but that was a Mark Murphy hire. And whether or not this will be a policy hire or a Gutey hire, I'm not quite sure. In my world, there's no chance I'm moving on from Matt LaFleur. But there just doesn't seem to be a vibe to which there's a lot of positivity right now building around Matt LaFleur up there.
And it could be more like how the Bears went about it this year, where Ryan Poles, like you were saying, is just kind of in the room with the Bears ownership and helped them pick the head coach, but he didn't get say with the head coach really this year. It was going to be Ben Johnson or it was going to be Liam Cohen is really what it came down to. And they went with Ben Johnson. They were able to sign him and get him on this team.
Both would have been good.
I think that's how it's going to be with Brian Gutekunst. He's going to go into this offseason, and if they do feel the need to move on from Matt LaFleur, he's going to be in the room, but I don't think he's going to have a lot of decision-making power when it comes to getting a new head coach in there.
Dennis tweets, ask any potential candidate what formation they would have on 4th and inches. They say anything other than shotgun, hire them. That's funny, but I agree. I'm tending to agree with you, Dennis.
Yeah, after that last game, that was a little bit of a struggle.
Yes, I absolutely. Justin says, having a head coach who instills toughness and puts emphasis on special teams would have more impact than just a play caller. Okay, let's have this conversation. Okay? Because what you described is Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Detroit did. Detroit said, he doesn't need to call plays, just be a leader of men. Mike Tomlin, that's who he is. He's a leader of men. He ain't a play caller. So
Mike Vrabel's doing that right now in New England.
Correct. So you can have that guy be the leader of men if you so choose. Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss, right? Defense, offense coordinators, Bill Belichick. I don't want that for the same reason I always say. I don't want to lose my play caller every 2 or 3 years once this offense gets going. And then you have to reestablish chemistry again with your quarterback, like what happened in Detroit this year, where they've had 2 different play callers with the Lions, and they're not in the playoffs. And they would have been in the playoffs and won this division probably, and Ben Johnson was still there, would be my guess. And if they hadn't lost Aaron Glenn to the Jets, if both those guys were there, they'd probably have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year.
I would think so. Yeah,
No
they still
question.
finished the season with a good record. Not a great record like they had been, but they're still a good team.
And so, again, and that's why those guys leaving. For me, when you have all that money invested in a quarterback, you do not want those 2 guys separated. And that's why if I'm Ed Policy, Matt LaFleur stays unless we decide to move on from Jordan Love or Jordan Love asks that we move on from Matt LaFleur. One of those 2 things. If I move on from, megastar salary Jordan Love, and I'm going to reboot that position, and I want somebody different to develop my next guy, like they did McCarthy to LaFleur, okay, I'm fine with that. Or B, if Jordan Love says, hey, Gutey, I think we need a new voice in the locker room, or I need some fresh eyes on this offense to help me get better. If Love asks, cool, he's gone. Whether you think he deserves that or not, that's how I'd approach it.
I've been comparing this kind of conversation about Matt LaFleur being fired to the Raptors firing Dwayne Casey right before they won the championship with Nick Nurse and trading for Kawhi Leonard. But part of the reason they won that championship is because they made other huge changes to that team in order to take that next step. If the Packers are going to do this, to your point, they have to move on from somebody that is a focal point of this team in order to make that transition more smooth and take that next step while also replacing a head coach, a guy who has won in the past. And there have been talks on Rich Eisen on ESPN. They were discussing a face of a franchise player probably getting moved this offseason. And that goes as low as like a Kyler Murray all the way up to a Tua, and then all the way up to like guys like Jordan Love potentially, if that is the conversation that we're talking about. They brought him up in that talk. I think this is a situation where if you want to make those giant changes, you have to make multiple giant changes, not just one that's maybe or maybe not going to break it. You have to guarantee that it's going to be a big change. Look at the Rams again. Getting a Matthew Stafford after realizing that you have what you have in Sean McVay is a huge change, and they overhauled that defense as well. Bring in Jalen Ramsey, bring in Von Miller, bring in Odell Beckham Jr. in that wide receiver room. It has to be a lot to guarantee that what you're doing is the right choice.
Charlie using over there, Steve Sparky, 5 for here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Coming up next, things that Sparky missed, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals, is straight ahead. Don't go anywhere. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. See Sparky Pfeiffer with you, Charlie Usen over there, other side of the glass. Reminder, if y'all are going out tomorrow night, full lineup, by the way, tomorrow. Live and local tomorrow, 6A to 6P. Live and local on Friday as well. So we'll be here both days. Thursday, not as much, but Wednesday and Friday, both here, both days. Looking forward to that. I want to just remind everybody to be safe. We were talking about this in the break too. Like that day before Thanksgiving tends to be the day where the most people I feel are out drinking and being stupid. And the New Year's Eve obviously has to be in that conversation as well. Not to mention the fact the amount of underage drinking at these bars with these bars that do not care and let anybody in. I feel like cops could go into bars whenever they wanted downtown Milwaukee and just have a field day writing tickets left and right if they really wanted to challenge some of these bars that I am certain have kids that are going in there with fake IDs that they do not care about.
I'm also pretty sure from
probably all around the state, probably not just downtown Milwaukee,
all over the country.
To be fair, yes,
all over the country.
Yes.
But from people that I know that are police officers or in the police enforcement, they do not want to spend all night writing tickets to a bunch of teenagers. So there's other things, especially on New Year's Eve, that they are looking for than a bunch of underage kids at a bar. So these bars usually get away with it. Yeah,
right, exactly right. So all right, let's get to what we missed.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
Not much better family entertainment than the Milwaukee Admirals going to a hockey game there. It's a great date night place, too. I feel like it's not that expensive. You can get cheaps that are relatively inexpensive. Concessions are right in line. It's a lot of fun to go to an Admirals game, man. A lot of fun. All the stuff in the intermissions and stuff that's going on the ice and Roscoe and the kids and all that fun stuff. And everybody wants to buy a cowbell and ring a cowbell. That's a great place to go hang out for a night, Charlie.
Well, and Panther Arena is really cool too. If you just walk around it, like people don't realize all the history that's there. Like even just the way the bathrooms look is cool. I don't know how to explain it. Like everything's just really historic and awesome.
Yeah, Harris Tour did a great job restoring like those floors when you walk in. Those were all covered up for years, and they pulled it all back and went, "Oh my God, these are actually pretty good."
It's awesome.
They are. It's beautiful. So yeah, if you get a chance, that's the old Mecca. If you're listening around the state, the old Mecca in Milwaukee, now called Milwaukee Panther Arena. And how about Milwaukee Panthers, right? What are they, 3-0 now, I think, in conference play?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We got somebody to cheer for, baby. We got to get Coach Lundy back on.
Yes, we got to get Coach Lundy back on. Yes. And again, they have coming up the Green Bay Phoenix coming up on Monday. And I saw and I saved it. The Green Bay Phoenix put out that they're going to be having a party on Monday. Here it goes. Milwaukee is coming to town, so we're making it a party. $2 domestics, $3 carbless, one heated rivalry coming up on Monday night at the Crest Center. That is a lot of fun. I don't know how many people make that drive from Milwaukee to Green Bay to go see the Panthers and the Phoenix. I can't imagine many students are making that drive necessarily.
Probably not, but some diehard fans I know are going to be traveling with that team. We got them always. Every time we have Coach Lundy on, we got all the diehard Milwaukee Panthers fans hopping on. They love that team.
So. Yes, and I would imagine most of them don't like Gottlieb. So from that perspective, I'm sure there is probably something. Things that we missed. We only played 2 clips on Charlie's Sounds of the Day earlier, and you had at least one more that was sitting over there.
I did have at least one more. I had like 2 or 3 more. I had lots today. Yeah. Lots of people talking about the college basketball situation, but Cam Newton was discussing young quarterbacks transitioning to the NFL and why their careers are being ruined by being asked to be stars right away.
I don't think a lot of quarterbacks have the time and the grace like they once did. And when you think about quarterbacks like Andrew Luck, when you think about quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud, when you think about quarterbacks like myself, Robert Griffin III, who came into the league and had instant success, our saviors here, you know what I'm saying? And gone are the days where Jordan Love is like, it's a unicorn approach. Guys who sit behind, like, you're drafted to play now. You know what I'm saying? And that impacts development. Now we're seeing guys like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Mac Jones, become journeymen before they can finally find a home, which in other places and other times and other eras, we was expecting the quarterback that we drafted, the Troy Aikmans, to sit out for a couple years. Hey, Brett Favre, he wasn't mature enough, so he just sits out for a couple years. Michael Vick, you know what I'm saying, sit behind Chris Chandler. Why did I know this? I'm from Atlanta. I've seen this whole development, kind of happen. Quarterbacks were not asked to be the savior, not this fast.
That was Closed on Sundays with Pat Surtain and Terrion Arnold.
And who was that talking?
Cam Newton.
That's who I thought you said. Okay, so first of all, a lot of stuff that Cam says I don't agree with. But having said that, this I do agree with. I thought Troy Aikman played right away in Dallas, and they won like one game, if memory serves correctly. But Charlie can look that up. Doesn't even matter, really, at the end of the day. But his other arguments are all correct. He called Jordan Love a unicorn, and he's right, because most teams don't have the patience necessarily to let that player develop for a year or two. Realistically, what should have happened, which didn't happen, was if you have a guy that's coming into play for a year or two, like Aaron Rodgers, they, the Pittsburgh Steelers, should have went and got that young quarterback to sit there and wait for a year or two, right? The year before you got Rodgers, you should have drafted a quarterback. Then signed Rodgers, who has no intention of playing more than 2 years, and brought him in to be that guy to help develop that next quarterback and go from there. Or whoever else may be around the league. But because GMs and coaches get like 3 years before their can, some only get maybe a year or two before their can, because they have to win now. They don't have the patience or the time to see what will happen with that person. And you don't want to draft somebody too early, because now you put undue pressure on the starter, who now has to deal with all the questions about his successor sitting there waiting for him to get out. And then you have all this drama that goes along with it. Only really the Green Bay Packers have been able to do this with some success as far as the next guy being really good. There's been drama for certain, Favre and Rodgers and how that whole thing played out, but Rodgers, Hall of Fame quarterback. Love has turned out to be a good quarterback at this point. Hall of Fame, we'll see, but a good quarterback. So it's worked for them. Can this be something that happens consistently going forward? Only if you have a coach and a GM on like a 7-year deal, to where it's like, okay, you could sit a guy for a couple of years if you want, right? I'm not expecting immediate results. I'm sitting here willing to wait to see how this whole thing plays out. The other part about this is kind of becoming like the NBA was back when they had high school kids, right? Where a guy like Jermaine O'Neal kind of sat, wasn't very good the first couple of years in Portland. Then when he figured it out, was out of there and went and signed his next big deal. Now you're in a situation where these young guys, by the time they figure it out, their team has moved on to go find somebody else. And then the next team, the second team, gets the fruits of the labor of the first team without having to suck as bad as the first team did in order to get that guy.
But because of that, I feel like a lot of these other teams are just trying to get that star quarterback right away so they don't get fleeced like that, so they don't get taken away by a guy that just developed with their team, so they want to make sure they're good right away. So they put them in. It's really a kind of double-edged sword for these teams, man.
If I would have told you 3 years ago Sam Darnold would be doing this, no chance. If I would have told you 5 years ago Geno Smith would have had a resurgence and came back and did that.
He was the backup quarterback for the Giants with Eli Manning, who sucked.
No chance that Geno Smith's going to come back and do that, right? Daniel Jones, after he flopped in New York, nobody saw the Colts season coming.
He was a Pro Bowl level quarterback for a season and a half before that. I believed in him a little bit. Yeah.
But again, I mean, so many of these guys around the league now, you look at it like, man, I thought he was cooked, and he came back. And now in Tennessee, whoa, maybe we're going to move on from Cam Ward. You're going to end up regretting that, I bet you, before it's all said and done. You watch, he'll go play somewhere else and be that guy that everybody thought he was going to be coming out.
Well, and that would be so unfair. He played well this season. I hate people that are saying like he's bad. He played well this season. That team is so awful.
That's
so bad.
That's another fan base, right? They're not clamoring for Malik Willis, but they're all like, that's what we want our guy to look like. I want him to look like Malik at the end of the day. Crazy, man. Malik Willis's stature has never been as high as it currently is right now in the National Football League, with all these different fan bases that have been watching them play. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Jim Ozarski, Bucks beat writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, will join us tomorrow afternoon from Fiserv Forum at 4:20 ahead of the Bucks' next basketball game. So looking forward to talking to him then. Enjoy the rest of your night, Wisconsin. Have a good one. Toodles!